Hello, guys, and welcome to the Marigold Standard, your weekly audio source of all things Dream Star Fighting. Marigold, I'm your host, Rob Goodwin, and I'm joined as ever by the debonair gentleman himself. It's only Mr. Matt Turner. Matt Turner, you are looking absolutely beautiful today.
Well, brother, to be honest with you, you set the bar really high. So, I just kind of gotta keep up. I gotta do my bit, my man. But brother, what a show, what a day. Lots of great stuff to talk about in this beautiful, beautiful hot day we're having in Pennsylvania. I have a fan over here. I have a fan up there. I have the windows going. You can see the blinds are going. And usually I keep my main door closed, which means Matt's recording. Can't come in, but the door is open, so we may have a run-in from Ace. So Amber's out shopping and doing whatever, so we may have a run-in for Amber. I don't know, but we may have a run-in for Ace. So if you literally see me look over and I say, stop that, or don't do that, or hold on 1 second, it's because my crazy cat came in and is probably going to try to light a fire in this room. But regardless, brother, I'm terrific. How are you doing today?
I am doing very well. I've been laid up most of the day, as you can probably tell from my pasty complexion. But I've had a shave specifically for you guys. Hello to everyone in the comments. Mini Jasper Jr., how are you guys? Don't be rushing me around Tesco like that. I'm sorry. We did announce it like 2 weeks ago. Hendrix, hello. Always good to see you, my man. Colin, I know you've got some ranting to do. Hello, Darren. And Misfit Wrestling Podcast, the founders of Queen's Quest and Oeditai were on this show, by the way. I just want to point that out. Yes, indeed, lots of history on today's show. So it was, all in all, I think was a really, really, really good show. Hello, Chrissy. Hello, Bexmiz. I couldn't read the thing then for some reason. But Matt, overall, before we get into any of the reviews and the news and things like that, how are you? Did you enjoy the show? What were your opinions overall of the presentation and everything like that?
Real quick, buddy, we just watched 2 dream matches this morning. And over here in the Northeast, the dream matches are not done. Because over here in the Northeast, there's a little bit of a dream match going on tonight for Immortal Championship Wrestling. My good buddy Mike Skyros, who you met outside of the Ring of Honor show in Philadelphia, is taking on one Minoru Suzuki tonight. So, yes, I was like, man, brother, good. Just you clench your teeth and hit Murder Grandpa as hard as possible. So we do have another dream match over here in the Northeast United States. And Mike Skyros is probably one of the best unsigned talents in this area. But did I like the show? Oh, it was garbage. No, it was fantastic. Are you kidding me? Yeah, it was a great show. Fantastic show from start to finish. I had no problems getting up at 12:45 a.m. today to watch the show because I was super jazzed for it, and everything from match 1 all the way to the final the final match was absolutely terrific, especially those last 3 matches. There's some really, really good stuff, and I'm super excited. A lot of really big announcements, a lot of really cool stuff. Because, Rob, I guess as soon as we're done with the 5-star, we are not done with tournament wrestling as far as the Marigold Standard / the Stardom Cast is concerned. We go from one tournament season right into the next. So that should be super, super fun and hopefully super entertaining for all of the friends and family of the Stardom Cast / Marigold Standard.
Yeah, it's Marigold didn't really take us into account, did they, when they announced their new tournament, which we're going to be talking about in a moment. I'd like to think that Marigold at least would consider myself and you when thinking about scheduling, simply because we're just going to be rushed off our feet. But that's by the by. We're going to have a word. But yes, there have been, because the show wasn't long enough for almost 5 hours, they decided to ram it home with announcements. We had a dance routine as well, which was different, but actually really quite nice. I enjoyed that. And then obviously we had some absolute match of the year candidates, one of which surprised absolutely no one, I can imagine. Hendrix, first time I've seen the podcast room, Rob, looks fantastic. Thank you very much. It's mainly down to my girlfriend, who I believe is actually watching this, which makes me feel very, very, very self-conscious. But yeah, mainly down to her. It's her eye for the colour and everything. But yes, it's looking all right, isn't it, at the moment?
Plus, you bring it together. You bring it all together, buddy. That's what it is.
Honestly, look at you. You're on fire today. On fire.
Unbelievable. You know, I slept good. I tell you what, man, I'm loaded with great stuff this weekend. Yesterday, Friday, I took Lily out for lunch and in a movie, which was nice. And then today I woke up, had this fantastic Marigold show. I'm just about done with all the Stardom shows from this weekend. Had a great day at the gym. And then tomorrow I have my nephew's graduation party. So not only am I surrounded with family, but I'm surrounded with friends and family of the Marigold Standard / Stardom cast. So I'm rolling. I'm buzzing today, my man. Watch out.
Who needs cocaine when you've got max levels of positivity? It's like a drug in itself. Now, very quick question, and this is perhaps the most important question that I'm going to ask you today. Have you listened to the Marigold Rise album that is out now on Spotify? And one gentleman has indeed uploaded them all to YouTube, so you can listen to them there as well. Have you listened to them? And if you have, what is your favorite song? Because there are some bangers on that album.
I haven't, but just on the Marigold. Is it available on Apple Podcasts? Because I have the Apple podcast subscription. Does anybody know?
Do you mean Apple Music? I imagine
Apple Music.
So.
Okay. Yeah, I know usually Spotify. Well, I know Spotify got the Stardom stuff, and then like 3-4 months later, then Apple Music got it. Later, 3-4 months later. But I mean, if it's on YouTube, hey, that's the way to go. But if you're kind of just going off what I've seen, since we've seen every Marigold match and commented on it, I'm going to say, other than the main theme, obviously Giulia's is kind of a mix between her old theme and the new one, so that's maybe disqualified. I'm a big fan of Miko Ano. I really like hers.
I knew you were going to say Miko Ano.
I like hers.
Brilliant. It's called.
I like hers, and you really got me. You really put over Koki Emery's theme. Well, I think on the show we just did last week, so I was really paying close attention to the show that they just released a day or two ago, and then the show we're reviewing today. So it's like, as usual, Rob is dead on, because as if we don't have enough in common, my friend.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been listening to it on and off today at different points, and there are some themes that don't really translate that well to being, standalone songs without, the arena effects and things like that. But there are some that are absolutely fantastic. Let us know in the comments which ones are your favorites. But personally, Koki Amare's Amethyst Butterfly is a must listen. The actual Marigold theme is an absolute must listen. Marais was really good as well.
Bozilla is very haunting. Bozilla is very haunting. Like
it is.
It's her. Like, it's her. Because, again, we're not used to these themes. Obviously, Giulia's theme, like, we're not used to. So sometimes I'll be watching, I'll be doing my notes, and then you hear the music playing. I'm like, oh, I wonder who that is. And then I'll wait for them to come out. Or Wrestle Universe is great. All you got to do is touch the screen and it shows you the match that comes up. So, like, okay, I'll write that down. But, man, when Bozilla, her theme hits, it's her. Like, it's Absolutely. So fitting. It's so fitting.
Yeah, and I must admit, Natsumi Shozuki's theme, Showtime, that is also another really, really, really good theme. But that might be because I'm just a massive fan of Natsumi Shozuki. I genuinely think she might be in my top 3 favorite wrestlers at the moment. And that's a big, big admission, to be honest. Chris Miller, Bozilla's theme sounds like the Terminator is coming. Yes, it does. Of course it's Miku's theme. Of course it is. Yeah, it's a banger. I've had it in my head, but because I've only listened to it a couple of times, I only know parts. I'm sure other people do this as well. When you got a song in your head, but you only sing like every other word because you only know certain words. So it's stars in your head. I don't know the rest of the lyrics, but that's what I've been just going over and over again in my head. But yes, that is also a banger. Misfit Wrestling Podcast, give me Kyrie in the Dreamstar Grand Prix.
Ooh, as we said at the same time. Yeah, I mean, we're going to start fantasy booking what that's going to be, because obviously they have the dates all set up. I don't think they announced brackets or how many participants. Did they, Rob? I thought I was zoomed in, I was focused, I was ready to go. So I thought maybe I missed that, because sometimes I do. But yeah, really interesting stuff. But that's something I'm going to do once we get off this podcast. I'm going to go and listen to all those themes. So how many? I'm putting you on the spot already, brother. 10 minutes in. How many themes are on the soundtrack?
Sorry, what are you going to do when you go home? When you get off the podcast? Sorry,
Oh,
the internet just dropped out.
that's okay. How many themes are on the soundtrack?
15, I think.
Wowzer, that's pretty much everybody.
Yeah, there is a couple that are missing. Like Nagisa Nozaki's, I don't think is owned by Marigold because she's a freelancer. Myla Grace isn't on there. Bozilla's isn't on there. Zeta Steels isn't on there. There's quite a few that aren't like on there for obvious reasons, but the vast majority of the actual core Marigold roster is on there. Hendrik says Nanae's passion theme is an absolute banger, not going to lie. I haven't actually listened to that one.
Because you can't hear it because she yells over it.
Oh my God, she's so loud. Is it just her, Hendrik, shouting passion as loud as she can for 3.5 minutes? In all seriousness, though, like I think I said this on the Summer Destiny preview, but I can't believe the difference in Nanae Takahashi at the moment. She seems like a completely different person. Seems like a completely different wrestler. Really, really, really feels like she's enjoying herself. She's found her niche. And again, I do credit part of that to Naoya Ishikawa and her partnership with her. I think she's going to do wonders together, especially if, you know, as they mentioned on commentary, that they are going to be going for the Marigold Twin Star Championships, because I think that's the perfect area for Nanae. I said it before, like the Passion Injection matches are brilliant. It gets the people over, like Chikugoto, Misa Matsui especially, which to my mind has been the best Passion Injection match in Marigold, because I don't count the Utami one as a Passion Injection match. But what's the next step? And I think with Naoya Ishikawa, that is the next step, you know, taking her under a wing, sort of imparting that knowledge that she's got. And we saw that a bit here as well. Thomas Bauer says, Koki's song slaps. Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. Right, let's start talking about some news then. Much as I would just like to keep talking about the themes. Maybe we'll do a reaction stream of all 15 songs. Maybe. But yes, obviously, I was going to do this in the actual show reviews, but I want to give them sort of the highlighting that they deserve. The first thing that we're going to be talking about, obviously, is the fact that Dream Star Fighting Marigold have officially announced their own round robin tournament, same sort of style as the G1 Climax in New Japan, the All Japan Champion Carnival, and of course Stardom's 5-star Grand Prix. This one is called the Dream Star Grand Prix, which I saw got a lot of raised eyebrows on social media. It's going to run from the 31st of August with an afternoon and an evening show inside the Edion Arena Osaka number 2. The final is going to be on the 28th of September 2024, and that's going to be at Nagoya International Center. That's a Saturday as well. I don't know whether that is going to be a pay-per-view as of yet, but I would imagine that it probably will be. The other dates and venues are as follows. From the 31st of August in Edion Arena Osaka number 2, we get the 8th of September 2024 in Bolford Tiyama in Toyama. 14th of September goes to Shinkiba First Ring Tokyo. We've got 2 Korakuen Hall dates, the first of which is the 16th of September 2024. The 20th of September, Sendai Pit in Miyagi. The 21st of September in Morioka City Gymnasium in Iwate. And then the 23rd of September, the penultimate night in Korakuen Hall. Again, both those Korakuen Hall shows are Mondays. And of course, if we take what Marigold Joshi's Twitter account said as standard, then 1, 2, 3 of those shows are going to be live, with the one on the 14th in Shinkiba, the Korakuen Hall shows on the 16th and the 23rd. But it wouldn't surprise me if they do something with the shows at the Edion Arena Osaka number 2, especially because it's the first night of the first tournament. But Matt, first of all, I think it's a great idea to do this style of tournament. It adds something really, really good to the sort of summer-autumn time. We've seen before, especially with the latest years of the 5-star Grand Prix, how it's highlighted people that haven't won. Natsupoi, for example, Mina Shirakawa in 2022, Mariah May, for example. So it's a really good way to really start to get to know the roster in a singles capacity. But what's your thoughts on it? The name aside, because I'm sure we'll talk about the name in a moment.
Well, it's easy to remember, my friend. You know,
It is easy
we've
to
literally doubled and almost tripled just the podcasting that we put out, which we love. Don't get me wrong, but it's like it's real. We're still, trying to get caught up on trying to figure out everybody's names and move sets and apparently now themes. But correct me if I'm wrong, partner. Doesn't the 5-star Grand Prix end the day before?
Misfit Wrestling Podcast has literally just put the finals of the 5-star is the same day as Marigold's opening. So I wonder if that's been booked on purpose.
Which is going to, and I know obviously we'll talk about it off air, but I know we love doing these live streams and we only do a handful of a year. And the original idea was we'll do them on all the big Joshi shows, the Marigold shows, and obviously the Stardom shows. So I know the original idea was for us to plan to do the finals of the 5-star because that's one of the biggest dates of the year and do a live stream. But then we're gonna have to try to fit in two shows to watch. Mm-hmm. So obviously that'll be something that we'll have to talk off air. And I'm all about doing a 5-star Grand Prix final as a live stream. So that's it's going to be fun. But I do like this idea. I mean, when Stardom first started, they wasn't too long after they rolled out the 5-star Grand Prix, and here we are some 13 years later, and they're still doing it. And obviously, we made mention on the Stardom cast last week how insanely loaded the blocks are. Again, as this recording, there's still 4 spots left. So this is a very good way, as you just said, partner, to get to know the roster. And the winner of this tournament, is it going to be very much like the G1, very much like the 5-star Grand Prix? Do they get a title shot? Maybe at the big show coming up, which I guess is going to happen the same time that New Japan and Stardom are doing their shows, which I kind of figured they would do. And it's smart. It's smart because you're going to have really the whole wrestling world is going to be centered, in Japan coming right off Christmas. So, which I really enjoy. So maybe that's where they do it. I mean, again, we don't know what the blocks are going to look like. Hopefully they just go to a 2-block scheme just because the Marigold roster is nowhere near as stacked as the Stardom roster. Like as far as, competitors, and are they going to bring in somebody from WWE, somebody from NXT? Not only that, but I mean, you see TNA wrestlers working in NXT. So do we see somebody from TNA coming over to Marigold to be a part of this tournament? That's a possibility. Some freelancers, that's another possibility. So it's going to be really interesting and really exciting to see, and considering the fact that tournament is just about 2 months away. I wouldn't be shocked in the next few weeks we start getting some competitors and some blocks and whatnot. So I'm all for it, my friend. It's going to keep us super, super busy. You made mention before that they did not take in consideration how busy we are. I'm going to disagree with you and said that they definitely knew what they were doing, knowing how busy we are. They figured we're already talking about tournaments. Yeah. Let's roll one right into another. So I am all for it, my friend, and it's going to be another prediction show for us, which we usually do horribly wrong. However, you did get the Cinderella. Yes. You did get the Cinderella tournament winner this year. So yes. Cheers. So is he doing the Rob Van Dam? Rob Van Goodwin. There you go, folks.
I mean,
RBG.
I just want to make perfectly clear that I'm still away in my prize for that, Matt Turner. But it's fine. We'll skate over that. We'll gloss over that.
What prize would you like?
I don't know. I'll think of it.
I mean, you got it, buddy.
This should be you. You organise these things. It's the first time I've ever come close to getting a tournament right. So that was really good. In terms of this tournament, I've seen a few people on social media talk about the roster, the Marigold roster, that is, not being deep enough for 2 blocks. And I completely disagree. You look at, so you mentioned the first time that Stardom rolled out the 5-star Grand Prix, which was 2012. The roster was nowhere near as deep as the Stardom roster is now, and they still put out 2 blocks. Yuzuki Aikawa and I think Kyoko Kimura were the 2-block finalists, and then obviously Yuzuki Aikawa won it. So you can still have 2 blocks. You just don't need it to be 483 people, which is what the Stardom 5-star Grand Prix is going to end up being at this rate. You can quite easily have 2 blocks of 5, and Marigold, can easily do that. We've got a couple of people who've put forward suggestions in terms of people that should be in it. Sol Rucker in the tournament, Misfit Wrestling Podcast says, I'm a big fan of Sol Rucker. I think her versus a Natsumi Shozuki or her versus a Misa Matsui would be really, really good. Stephen T. Bull Piper Niven said she wanted to go back to Japan. She did, and she name dropped Rossi and Marigold. So that would be perfect because I don't think she's doing anything at the moment. And now there's this person, Chris Miller. Blair Davenport ain't too busy at the moment. Very, very, very good point. I mean, if you are going to port over people from WWE, then obviously the blocks are not going to be difficult to fill. However, if Natalia Wrestling Misfit Wrestling Podcast says you are a huge fan of Natalia, I know, Matt, and I think she'd be the perfect fit. But even excluding that, you've still got enough for 2 5-person blocks. In terms of winners, I know we've had the person's name mentioned about 4 times, so we'll just select Mr. Atkins. Can't wait for Utami to win this tournament. Yeah. I think if you want to legitimize the Dreamstar Grand Prix, then I feel like you need a big winner to start off with. Now, if we know that there is going to be a big show on the 3rd of January, which we're going to talk about in a moment, it's the next piece of news, but I don't know if there's going to be a winter pay-per-view. They haven't announced anything between the Dreamstar final and the show on the 3rd of January. So I don't know if they'll just do a show. Maybe it'll be the main event of a Korakuen, for example, which I'm not bothered about in the slightest. I think that's great. It's one of my slight bugbears with Stardom is that I want to legitimize Korakuen Hall again, which they are starting to do with more title matches. But I think Utami needs to win it. I think you need a strong first winner. If it's not Utami, I feel like it needs to be Mirai. And we're gonna talk about Mirai and where she goes from here, because I personally think she is no worse off for losing. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. Hello, Plug Pedro. It's lovely to see you as always. I've had a lovely day. How are you, Matt?
Real quick, buddy. I'm going to throw everyone saying Utami, and you look at the first winner of the it's got to be someone that's going to be remembered forever. Yuzuki Ayakawa, even though she has, only had an early career, we all remember her. Great, fantastic wrestler. Masahiro Chono, I believe, was the first winner of the G1. So Utami does fit that. However, I'm going to say something that you're going to completely agree with me. What about my Sakurai's hat? Right? It's back. It's back, baby.
Oh, my God.
It's back.
Plug Pedro asked if we've had a good day. Yes, we've had a fantastic day. Every day is fantastic. Yeah. But I didn't text Matt much today, which is weird because we usually text each other loads. Didn't text him much today about the pay-per-view because I wanted to save it all for this. The one thing I texted him about, was the fact that my Sakurai came out in that hat. And I was made. I was absolutely made when she came out with that.
To back you up on that, buddy, as you know, 99% of these big shows, if they're live, especially on pay-per-view, I watch live as they happen. And I like conversing with the audience on Twitter. And I usually wait till after the match is over and I give a kind of quick little tidbit, and then someone may message me. And then I don't like to tweet during the match because that's when I'm doing my notes and I'm trying to stay focused. That was the only match out of this 17-card match where I literally tweeted in the middle of the match and said the hat is back. So very much like how we were going to leave our conversation until what we're doing right now, where you text me about the hat. So apparently the hat got more over than one IYO SKY. I'm just saying.
I know that we don't have Marigold Standard merch at the moment. It is in the works, but we haven't got Marigold Standard merch at the moment. Maybe that needs to be our first shirt. Just the hat is back, and just a massive hat
with the date.
Sakurai's head like that big.
With the date.
Yeah, with the
7/13/24. Like when Jordan came back to the Bulls. I'm back.
Something that I've seen in the chat about Giulia. Thomas Bowers mentioned, do you think Giulia is going to be around for the tournament? We'll talk a little bit about Giulia after the main event because, spoilers, I don't think she'll be around for much longer at all. I think if she was going to be around for much longer, she was winning the match. I am just going to say now, oh God, Jason Camp, don't you dare bring that up. How dare you? Oh. The hat and the elbow drop. Honestly, when she hit the elbow drop, I was like, she cannot lock Shinobu Kandori, the Shinobu Kandori in a Paradise Lock, and then beat her with a bloody elbow drop. That just can't happen. Thankfully, it didn't. What was I saying? Oh, yeah, Giulia. Just got so distracted by the elbow drop. I think, as I said, if Giulia was hanging around, I think she'd have won the belt. Now, I think the problem has been with Giulia is, nobody factored in the injury that she's had. She should have been on all 14 of these shows in the run up to Summer Destiny. So, people will say, oh, she's only wrestled twice. Yeah, but she should have wrestled a lot more. It's just the injury. Do I think she will be back periodically to wrestle in Marigold? Yes, I do. That was out in the Wrestling Observer a while ago, is that she's signed a contract where, the possibility to come back and do some shots for Marigold is very much a possibility. So I don't think it'll be a lot, because I know I think her mum and her boyfriend are all moving to the States with her. So the chances of her doing, tours or indeed the Dream Star Grand Prix are very, very slim. Again, we need to it depends when she's announced for NXT, but I imagine it's relatively imminent. Anyway, let's move on, because again, I keep focusing on Jason Camp's comment of that elbow drop, and it's distracting me.
I want to throw one thing out, my man. We made mention last week on this show that Sakurai, when she won, now she hit the elbow drop, but she won a match with it. And obviously we'll get into the show do a quick review before we get into the main show. Literally the last match before this show is Sakurai winning with the elbow drop. So she turned heel on one person, Would she become the biggest heel in the history of Rob Goodwin's fandom if she takes the hat, throws it on the mat, and then does the elbow drop on the hat? Is that room for
Oh, you mean like when Ric Flair does the elbow drop on the on the jacket?
Suit. Yeah, the jacket. Yeah.
Could
she
be.
She woos.
Could be. She woos. Boo the woo. Yes.
Boo the woo. There's a new shirt.
So, obviously, we've got the Dream Star Grand Prix coming up. We will talk more about that when we get information. I imagine that the blocks and the competitors will be announced relatively soon, as it's, the end of next month. I know that there are announcements about the Marigold Twin Star Championships. Their tag belts, they are being announced relatively soon as well. In the coming weeks, I believe it was said on commentary. So don't be surprised if we see that and another tournament coming up, because if you listen to the English commentary, especially the first half of the show, the Twin Star Championships were mentioned a lot in terms of teams that can enter sort of the fray for the Twin Star Championships. You've got the Twin Towers, you've got Zeta Steel and Myla Grace before they fell apart and Zeta Steel's head fell off. And then you've got obviously the Passion Sisters as well. Moving on from that, though, obviously we mentioned it slightly earlier, is the fact that Marigold have thrown their hat, or thrown my Sakurai's hat, into the ring in terms of Wrestle Kingdom Week. We talked a couple of weeks ago on the Stardom cast about how New Japan and Stardom have announced a run of shows between themselves and AEW for the first week of January, dubbed Wrestle Kingdom Week, very similar in structure to WrestleMania Week. Stardom have got their own show, New Year Dream. That's going to run on the 3rd of January. Wrestle Kingdom, obviously, on January 4th. The co-promoted show between CMLL, New Japan, Stardom, AEW, and Ring of Honor is going to run on the 5th at the Tokyo Dome again. And then you have got New Year Dash, which is running on January 6th. However, Dream Star Fighting Marigold announced today that they are going to be running their own show on January 3rd, 2025. Ota Ward City Gymnasium. The show is called Marigold First Dream. And Sonny mentioned on commentary that will be another pay-per-view. Now, obviously, for the eagle-eyed among you, or the eagle-eared, should I say, that is obviously the exact same day that Stardom are running New Year Dream at Tokyo Garden Theatre, the first wrestling promotion to run there, by the way. So that's going to be interesting, the head-to-head between Marigold and Stardom, so to speak. Obviously, we don't know bell times or anything like that. The chances of them actually running, side by side are very slim. But even so, Ota Ward City Gym, big venue, another huge get for Marigold. And obviously, we'll talk a bit later about how they did in terms of drawing to Ryogoku a little bit later on. But first of all, Matt, not a surprise at all that Marigold are running a show this week. It makes perfect business sense to do that. I imagine that running January 3rd at Ota Ward City Gym was more a case of this is the date that Ota Ward have got, as opposed to let's try and steal some of Stardom's fan base, which I I saw on social media. But overall, I think this is a big thing for Marigold again.
Yeah, and again, depending on the show times, and I don't know the distance between the Tokyo Gardens, which is a great name for a building, by the way, and Old Award City. I don't know the distance. If anybody knows in the comment section, let us know. But if it's only like an hour or so, and one show starts at 1 and one show starts at like 6 or 7, you can go to both shows. Again, Rob, you were there with me in Philadelphia. We were running and rolling. We were all over the place. Yeah, I tell you what, we did pretty well for scheduling everything that we did. But why not? Again, if it's not too far away, don't run. As long as they don't run against each other. I made mention this last week on the Stardom Cast that in my over 20 years of doing the Indies, a lot of these promoters will do that on purpose, and then it cuts apart your fan base and ticket sales. And at the end of the day, nobody wins, and the fans are upset because they couldn't go to both shows. Yeah, why not?
That's the big thing.
Yeah, you should be able to go to both shows. You really can. Obviously, we know Marigold has got no issues with Stardom. They mentioned, Sonny and Stu. They mentioned them, put them over all the time, and why not? We'll get into it. We saw IYO and Utami coming out with the Queen's Quest match. The name of the match was, Queen of Queens. They're going to back up the rich history that is Stardom. So I just hope, and again, maybe Oda Ward's like, you can have this date. Here's the time that you have. So we don't know. We won't know until maybe a few weeks, a few months. We won't know until we're getting to the holiday season what that time is. But Oda Ward obviously very rich in the Stardom history. We've seen so many great shows, so many legendary shows over the past 3 or 4 years from that building. And I would not be shocked, Rob, that by the time obviously Sareee is the world champion, she's still technically a freelancer. I would not be shocked if Utami is the champion going into that show, and we see Giulia coming over for one of those few shots in the main event of that show. Is another dream match that, even though they were in Stardom together for 3 or 4 years, we never got. Yeah. So I wouldn't be shocked if the main event of that show is Utami as the world champion. That match wouldn't even need a belt. I'm just saying, taking on Giulia, who would probably be on NXT TV 4 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, what have you, or she might even be on WWE TV coming over. So I think that'd be a big coup, because you're going to have so many different wrestling fans from around the world centered in on that part of the world over in Japan for Wrestle Kingdom, for whatever the Ryogoku show that Stardom is running. We assume it's going to be Dream Queendom, for Wrestle Dynasty, and then a lot of those other shows, New Year's Dash. So I think it's really cool. It just gives us wrestling fans more stuff to watch. And like I said, my friend, Christmas is my favorite time of the year. And it looks like the pro wrestling scene, especially over in Japan, are giving us about 19 Christmas gifts about a week later. So I'm all for it. I guess we were good this year. I guess we were good boys and girls this year. Yeah, apparently, brother.
If we're extra good, maybe they'll make it an annual thing, which pretty much cements the fact that we'll be going to Japan in 2026. Fingers crossed. I mean, this is another huge venue. Again, it's worth noting that Marigold have been a promotion since the end of May. That's when they ran their first show. They have already sold 3,000 plus tickets to Ryogoku. They have already booked the Ota Ward City Gym. They have run Korakuen Hall multiple times. This is a huge get. They're doing tremendously well for a company that have only just started. Now, I know that they are on more of a front foot than your average company that has just started. But even so, that's still massive that they're able to draw that amount of people to Ryogoku, to be able to, to book a venue like Ota Ward City Gym without going, we're going to have to close off a load of the stands. The fact that they're able to do that is really, really, really quite impressive. Thomas Bauer says, you guys got to go to Japan. I agree. Seeing Stardom and TJPW and Korakuen live is amazing. Well, we'll be there, mate.
You sold us. You sold us. You sold the salesman. We're there. Twist my arm. Twist it. Double wrist lock. Sure.
Let's move on then to let's talk about the show. We might as well. That's why we're all here. Marigold Summer Destiny. 3,058 people, Matt, inside Ryogoku Kokugikan. For a little bit of comparison, that's 5 less than Dream Queendom 2023. In terms of where it sits in Stardom, running Ryogoku. Dream Queendom 23, like I say, drew 3,058. Dream Queendom 21 drew 3,039. So it outdrew Dream Queendom 21. It outdrew World Climax Night 1 from back in 2022, which drew 2,712. The only show that Stardom have run at Ryogoku that has outstripped this attendance is the Dream Queen of 2022 show, which was Sareee versus Giulia, 3,869. Now, on the preview show, I said I didn't think they were going to get near to that number. However, to be in and amongst the rest of those numbers and beating out comfortably one of those numbers, I think Marigold will be very, very pleased with how this show has gone and the attendance that they've managed to pull into this venue, especially as when it got reported the week before the show, only 2,500 tickets have been sold. Now, I know a lot of this is going to be on the back of IYO SKY's first in-ring match in Japan in 6 years. I'm fully aware of that. However, it's still credit to the rest of the roster because they put on a fantastic show. And even if they only catch, 100 people or something that have never seen Marigold before, and they go, right, I'm gonna go back and watch that, it's still an improvement in terms of attendance, Matt.
Well, my man, what was it? 3050? Is that what it was? 3,050?
3,000 and just let me get my notes back up. 3,058 is the official announced number.
Yeah, we kind of figured. I thought it'd be. I was aiming a little higher. I thought it'd be like 3,300. I think you were right there. You thought it'd be right around 3,100. So kudos to you. You were a little bit closer. Amber thought they would do about 4,100. So she was even more positive than me on that one, my friend. But yeah, obviously a great number. Again, a lot of this is have to do off the back of one IYO SKY, IYO SKY. I mean, and it goes to show you she was obviously a huge ticket seller. From what we understand, about 24 hours after the match was officially announced, they moved right around 1,000 tickets. So about 1/3 of these tickets were sold right around the time that, within a day of IYO being announced. So that is really, really good. I don't know what the average ticket price comes out to be. Obviously, I'm sure IYO's price tag was a little bit more than Kokugikan's. No disrespect to her. So hopefully with the pay-per-view buys and advertising and whatnot, hopefully they made a huge, huge profit. Thus, basically helping them running bigger shows the rest of this year and obviously for next year. But obviously, I mean, IYO, again, we'll get into it. She definitely went all out. It was a great, great show. And with all those extra tickets that they sold, and I mentioned this last week, is how much are they going to retain, knowing that IYO is not going to be there next show, knowing that Giulia more than likely will not be there for the next upcoming shows, the next month or two. But at the same time, Tommy's going to be there. Miko Ano's going to be there. Bozilla is going to be there. Victoria Zuki's going to be there. How many of those wrestlers left an impression on those almost 3,100 people inside Sumo Hall, where people are going to come back, or people are going to check this out on Wrestle Universe and subscribe to Wrestle Universe and pay for the next pay-per-view? I'm assuming it's going to be a pretty high end. Again, look who the champion is. Sorry. I don't think she's under a Marigold contract, but at the same time, Ryogoku Kokugikan is smart enough knowing that she's going to be sticking around or making Marigold her number one place, her main priority. And obviously she's terrific. So yeah, good on them. And that's just an old promoters thing. It's like you always hear, we're going to bring Ric Flair in, and we usually do 2,000 tickets. We're going to bring Flair in to wrestle whoever the local champion is. And we might double that to 4,000. And then instead of doing 2,000 the next show, we're going to do 3,000 because even though Flair's not going to be here, the extra 2,000 people, they liked what they saw. So that's just an old promoter tactic that, okay, we're bringing IYO in. She's going to bring X amount of eyes in, and a lot more people are going to come back because they've never seen a Kokugikan or Chika Goto or a Miko Ano or, so on and so forth. And they're going to be like, this is a promotion that I want to check out. So yeah, good on them on drawing that. And I'm really interested to see, what the retention is going to be. For all purposes, majority of these Marigold shows since its inception have done really well as far as the attendance goes. So I think that they'll do really well coming off this show. And this was a really good investment, in my opinion, for Ryogoku Kokugikan to bring.
They've done some good numbers at different venues. I know that Mirai's homecoming show did over 600 tickets. Yeah. I know that they did 600 and something in Nagoya, which was another great attendance to get. I think what you've said is absolutely spot on. Marigold are not going to be able to depend on the likes of a Giulia and an IYO. Now, they knew they weren't going to depend on IYO. We knew that wasn't going to be a thing. However, Giulia's injury and her being out for 14 or 15 shows and then going off to NXT, that's a problem for Marigold because you're losing a bona fide star in Giulia. So that was why I think it's so important that Miko Ano won that match, because immediately having gone 20 odd minutes against Mirai and then going another 10 against Bozilla and being the first person to pin Bozilla, you've immediately created another star there. In the same mold as Giulia? No, absolutely not. She hasn't quite got that star power yet, but you heard how behind her the Ryogoku crowd were by the end, where she physically can't stand after all the punishment she took at the hands of Mirai and then the punishment she took at the hands of Bozilla. I personally think that's a great booking decision to then put the belt on Aono, because she hasn't missed in any of the matches that she's had, but she's one of those people who've only come over to Marigold with knowledge of Stardom, myself and you included, Matt. Not everyone would know who Miko Aono was, and now we've come out of it thinking, bloody hell, she's a star. I think Koki Amare looked really, really good in this show. Natsumi Shozuki, fantastic. Misa Matsui, I think, blood pouring down her face. She was another one who looked fantastic. And that closing segment with her literally just slapping Natsumi Shozuki's hand as she can't believe she's lost. Beautiful. Really, really good. Yes, you haven't got that upper tier talent yet. You've probably got Utami just below her, Mirai and Miko Aono. I would argue that's probably where you got when you've taken Giulia out of the equation. However, that's what Marigold have been doing over these shows. They've been building talent and getting you to know the talent, and I think that's really important. Let's look at the first match then. So we start with the pre-show.
Buddy, I don't mean to cut you off. I know we talked about this. I'm sorry. Did I scare you?
Yeah,
I Bozilled you. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you. I don't like doing that. But I know when we had a pre-production meeting, were we going to cover the show from the 7th?
I have no idea. Were we?
That's what I think you said. Did you watch it? If not, I'll cover it next week. It's fine. I'll do a solo.
I'll be honest, I haven't seen it.
Okay. Then what I'll do?
I completely forgot.
Before I forget, guys, Rob is on vacation next week, so I will be doing the Stardom cast solo next week. And then what I'll be doing is, if you guys want it, put it in the comment section. I will just do a quick solo Marigold standard episode where I just cover the show on the 7th. Is that okay with everybody?
Yeah, assume yes. Assume
okay.
Yes.
Let me get to my notes. Let's go.
So, anyway, as I was saying before, I was so rudely cut off.
Terrible.
Pre-show match, Ryo Saito defeated Komomo Minami with a lateral press in 8 minutes and 23 seconds. Now, obviously, this is Ryo Saito's first match since February. Komomo Minami is still very young into her career. And I think this match it started well. I feel like there was potential in this match. However, I feel like it descended a bit into, I don't know what the word is. There was something that didn't click at the end, and the finish was very messy, Matt.
Yeah, I've never seen it's a video game finish where you keep going for the pin.
Yeah.
And eventually you get it. I've only seen it maybe once or twice, and I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of a weird finish to start. I know it's on the pre-show, and I thought it was a weird finish to kind of start the show. The match was good, considering the fact you have two very younger wrestlers and you're putting them on this stage here. Again, it went 8 minutes, 23 seconds, maybe a minute and a half too long, and maybe they should have had maybe a better finish plan. If you're going to do like kind of a flash finish, just do a schoolboy, inside cradle, high cross body reversal, something like that. I thought it was really weird how they just kept going for the pin. 1-2 kick out, 1-2 kick out, 1-2-3. And I just was like, oh, okay, that's where we went. All right. Maybe you try something out. I had 3.25 stars. I didn't mind it. It wasn't terrible by any stretch of the imagination. Again, these two worked really, really hard. But this isn't one that I don't think me and you be pulling for an alternate commentary in the next month or two. But I'm really excited. Obviously, we put Komomo over quite a bit, how she's able to just every match she seems to get better. And I thought Ryo Saito, I've never seen her before. I thought she was pretty good as well. But these two wrestlers mixing it up with this roster, training in the dojo, I guess apparently the LLP dojo. We'll get into that in a moment. As long as they clean up after themselves, they're only going to get it. Yeah, they're only going to get better. They're only going to get better.
Yeah, absolutely. And the reason I brought up the fact that Ryo Saito hasn't wrestled since February and how young Komomo Minami is in her career is, they are still green. Even before Ryo Saito hasn't wrestled since February, even before that, she only debuted in August. So there's still a lot of progress that can be made. There's still a lot of work that can be done. And I think the chances are they had an idea and there was a lack of communication or something's gone wrong. I think there's an interesting story that Mayu Iwatani tells, where they used to call her, was it Mega Man? I can't remember the exact superhero, but it was because when she was very, very young into her career, she would go all out in the first like 2 or 3 minutes, and then she'd be that blown up for the rest of the match that she couldn't do anything, which is about as Mayu as you can get, really. But I think that's a good analogy for this match, because Ryo Saito, especially those first 3-4 minutes, she was going at everything like that and seemed really, really, really sharp. But again, having your first match back in God knows how long, at Ryogoku Kokugikan for a brand new company in the first match, I imagine it's quite a daunting task. It didn't translate terribly well onto pay-per-view, but I don't think there was anyone who was solely tuning into this pay-per-view for Komomo Minami versus Ryo Saito. And again, yes, this match might not have been the best. Will it be the only match they wrestle? No. Will they wrestle better matches? Hell yes, absolutely. We've seen a lot of times where Komomo Minami has wrestled fantastic matches. In fact, last Marigold Standard, we talked about that run of 3 shows where Komomo Minami had 3 completely different matches and wrestled really well. I just think there was a lack of communication that led to a very odd finish, but credit to them for trying something a little bit different. But yeah, someone did mention that potentially someone had just got the X stuck down on the controller, and that's why she kept going for the pinfall. Which I thought was quite funny.
I think I think in the Royal Rumble SNES game, I think the X button was the one to do the covers. So yeah. That might be it. Hey, real quick, I do want to say, obviously, I made mention last week on the Stardom cast how I was a little upset that these pre-show matches start and we don't find out until after they've happened. About 2 hours before I went to bed last night, they didn't make mention that the main show starts at 1:30. But if you turn this show on at 1:10, you can watch the pre-show match. So I don't know if that was wishful thinking or somebody over at Marigold, Sonny, was listening to the Stardom cast and heard me complaining a little bit, as much as I can complain, because I really don't. And I was like, see, that was nice. That's all you got to do. We got a pre-show match. If you want to watch it, tune in at this time. I'm not asking to change the world. Just let me know what time to tune in and I'm there. But kudos to them for that, because I would have missed this match. So kudos to them.
And to be fair, the 2 last live Stardom shows have started bang on time as well. So yeah, maybe people are just listening to you, MT. Who knows? I think there is the match with Chiaki. I feel like was aimed at me as well, but we'll be talking about that in a moment. We then had a tag team match, which was the Twin Towers, Chikikoto and Koki Amore, going to a 10-minute time limit draw with Kazuna Tanaka and Victoria Yuzuki. Kazuna Tanaka was announced as X at the press conference. Of course, daughter of Masato Tanaka.
No, not Masato.
Oh, Minoru Tanaka.
Just wants to see if I was paying attention.
It is a good job you're paying attention. What was your opinion of Tanaka's debut in Marigold? How do you think it went? What do you think of the match? I personally thought that Koki Amore was the standout for me. I know that she is someone that is being highlighted on the Wrestle Universe shows, or the house shows, or whatever you want to call it. She's someone that's been highlighted a lot. She's still yet to receive a pinfall in singles competition. So what did you think overall?
I'm a big fan of Kazuna Tanaka. I only seen maybe 2 or 3 of her matches. Again, her father, when I first got into pro wrestling over 20 some years ago, the junior style of New Japan was really what I was watching a lot of. And he was one of the highlights of the style that I like, the hard kicks, the striking, the mixing, the striking into the submissions. And you can see that with the daughter there, right there. And I thought that obviously the Tokyo Towers, if that's somebody you've kind of pegged, will probably win, be the first tag champs, or be right there towards the tournament final. Again, we don't know how anything's going to stick out, because they work really, really well together. The one thing I noticed too when I was doing the notes, considering the fact that the Tanaka has never wrestled Marigold before, and I'm assuming this is the first time her and Victoria Yuzuki have teamed up before, I was doing my notes and I wrote down their double teams remind me of Stars, meaning the faction over in Stardom. And then about 20 seconds later, I was like, Yuzuki was in Stars. So it really seems like she was taking some of the stuff that was happening in the matches that probably Mayu and Hazuki were teaching her the Stardom Dojo, and was thinking, this may work really well with us. Let's try it. And they had a lot of one off one side of the rope, the other off the other side, as soon as one gets hit, the other gets hit, like boom, 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 real quick. And then like the timing and the pacing where they need to be in the ring was very much like Stars. And I to me, that's 2 thumbs up. And again, we're starting to establish this tag division. We already have our main 3 belts, our main 3 champions crowned at this show. What's the next thing we're working towards? Our tag division. We've already seen some tag teams established. We kind of have an idea of who the tag teams are going to be. My guess, and fingers crossed, I'm hoping that Tanaka and Yuzuki are a tag team because, again, I thought they worked really well together. And considering that fact, this is their first match, you're really not doing too much with Yuzuki this yet. I just don't see her a push towards the white belt or the red belt just yet. Will she get there in time? More than likely. So I thought they worked really well as a team. Again, we've seen Koki Amare and Chika Goto as a team a handful of times. They're really terrific. They were great here. I was a little shocked with the 10-minute time limit draw. I thought this would have been a clear win for the Tokyo Towers, but I understand why they did it. And Sonny and Stu did a great job saying, wow, that, these are kind of the favorites of the tag division. And considering the fact you had a makeshift tag team we didn't know about until the night before, they went the time limit draw with the Tokyo Towers. So I would not be shocked if we see this match in a first round or second round of going into the tournament where eventually where Amare and Goto do get the win. So I thought this was really good. I had it at 3.5 stars, 10 minutes. I thought was the perfect time. I thought if you went to like 15, maybe with the younger competitors, Tanaka and Yuzuki, they might have got drawn out a little bit. But I thought it was really good. 10 minutes. I thought this match was excellent, and I'm hoping that they run it back, Mr. Goodwin. And I'm going to tag you in, and I'm going to disappear for all of about 30 seconds, my man. So you take it away. I'll be back quick.
That's fine. I think the chemistry between Tanaka and Yuzuki was something that I picked up as well. And it was a huge plus in the match because, again, I know that the chances are Tanaka and Yuzuki were working together in the dojo before they were announced. But even so, Tanaka was only announced on the Friday. Yes, it was a shock that the Twin Towers, and Matt kept calling them the Tokyo Towers, but the Twin Towers of Goto and Amare, yes, they are the favorites. But they're probably still the favorites to win the tag titles. But in going to a time limit draw, you've elevated Tanaka and Yuzuki. And I think, that goes back to what I was talking about before. You want to elevate as much of your talent as possible because you are losing such a star in the likes of Giulia, in the likes of IYO SKY, who was obviously only on the roster for this match. But you are still trying to elevate people, and I think a draw for Tanaka and for Yuzuki really does elevate them because, as both me and Matt said when we were talking about this in the preview show, we did say that the Twin Towers were going to win. I've seen quite a few people actually, Matt, just quickly on the point of Wrestle Universe, saying that the Wrestle Universe app on phones had push notifications when that match started, which brilliant, absolutely amazing. One thing I do want to know though, in the comments, I can't seem to use Apple Play or AirPlay, sorry, on Wrestle Universe. It's the only app that doesn't work with AirPlay, even though it's got the thing to say it does. Is that just me, or is this something for everybody else? So please let me know in the comments. The only thing you missed, Matt, was me saying that in drawing with the Twin Towers, we've got Tanaka and Yuzuki who are being elevated because of that, because no one expected them to draw, basically.
Yeah, I agree. And folks, even though I was ready for that's cool. I didn't know they had a push notification. But just to kind of give everybody a heads up, I like to peel back the curtain. I'm drinking a lot of water because it's so hot. So that was a quick bathroom break. So there might be a couple of them in this podcast. I like to be transparent with everybody. But yeah, I completely agree. And it makes me want to see the rematch. Very much like Mariah and Miko Ano. We're like, we went to a draw. Oh, another draw. I'm like, ooh, I can't wait to see this rematch. And when they do it on, I guess, what we'll consider a Wrestle Universe show or house show or whatever we're calling it, I will be, all ears and eyes for it. So really, really good way to start the show on the main pay-per-view. And it looks like to me that Tanaka is going to be part of Marigold pretty much from here going forward, which I'm really excited for because she's just going to get better and better and better being in the ring with the wrestlers like the Nanais, with the Mariahs, with the Utamis, and then whoever they bring over from time to time from WWE or NXT. And considering the fact that who her father is, you go right to advice for, again, one of the best juniors of the last 20 years, Minoru Tanaka. But I do want to point out that once this went to Rossi Ogawa, especially the TLD, they zoomed in on Minoru Tanaka, and he didn't seem too pleased with the TLD route. Did you see that? He was
He did.
Very stoic.
I mean, to be fair, they cut to him a couple of times, and his facial never changed. It was a constant stony face.
Cardboard cutout.
It did look that way. But it was the same with Chono when they cut to him during the Bozilla match. Just constant. Like when Giulia locks in the STF in front of him and clearly expecting him to be like, yeah, the STF. And he was just like, very stoic, man. Anyway, let's move on. So after this, we had the Actress Girls dance, which I completely forgot was going to be part of it. But I'm not one for interpretive dance, I'll be perfectly honest, but I quite enjoyed this. Plus, I'm never going to be someone that isn't happy to see Achi Asakawa, and to see her out in Ryogoku, it felt nice, man.
Yeah, it's always good to see her around, and I'm not a big fan of her interpretive dance, but this one might have been one of the more violent ones that I've ever seen. Because I don't remember anybody jumping on top of anybody doing pro wrestling moves. So this was nice considering the fact of all the bad press Rossi got once we knew like 6 people from Actress Girls were going over. Then we found out that it had nothing to do with Rossi. They weren't under contract. They wanted to go to Marigold. So it was nice for him to be like, look, I know kind of the promotion is kind of gutted. But from what I understand from people that cover Actress Girls, their attendance has gone up over the last few months. So good on them. I mean, they turned a negative into a positive pretty quick. But considering the fact that he gave them this platform to be like, here's the girls from Actress Girls, it's kind of almost a free commercial for them, and they gave him the stage for a couple minutes. Considering the fact that how long the show was, it didn't need it, but at the same time, Rossi and the production crew at Marigold decided to give them this platform to kind of, again, be like, hey, here's this other promotion. Maybe if you like what you see, check them out. So, good on everybody, really. It was no harm, no foul done. And I thought this was a stand-up thing for Rossi to give him this platform to be able to showcase a little bit of the talents from the girls over at Actress Girls.
Yeah, absolutely. This was followed by another legend coming to the ring in Michiko Amukai. She was a member of All Japan Women's and ASEAN as well. She's a former Queen of ASEAN champion, held that belt for 276 days. She's a 3-time Twin Star of ASEAN champion alongside legends like Mima Shimoda and Ayaka Hamada. And she's a former Japanese tag team champion as well. So a really storied and legend of the ring. Retired, I think, in 2007, but came back for a handful of shows. I know she was there for the 2021 sort of ASEAN final Gong show as well. So, but anyway, she comes out, gets a decent reception, and she comes out with her daughter, Shino Amukai, who will be a part of the Marigold roster, will be training in the Marigold dojo, in between school as well. So I don't actually know the age of Shino Amukai, but in my head, I'm thinking probably about 14, 15, probably a couple of years younger than Rina and Hina, because I know that they are just about to finish school, I believe, Rina and Hina. I know Hanan has finished school, which is why she's on all the shows, but I believe that's probably the age of her. But yeah, another exciting addition to Marigold's roster. And of course, we've already got trainees in the dojo as well. That was announced a couple of months ago now, I think, on social media. So to add another one ready to come into the roster, we are going to have a bit of a jam-packed roster sooner rather than later, Matt.
Seems like that all these rookies that are coming in, or all these newer wrestlers that are coming in, they're daughters of somebody famous, like a famous wrestler. So we just need to see if Akira Hokuto and Kensuke Sasaki, if they have any daughters, because obviously we've seen Nakajima and whatnot. And I think one of the girls from Marvelous is like their daughter-in-law, something like that too. So no, it's really cool. It's really interesting to see. I'm always a big fan of 2nd and 3rd generation wrestlers, because you can kind of see the pedigree that they have, and the fact that they grew up around the business, and the fact they can literally ask mom and or dad or the uncle or the grandfather for some advice, whether it's old school advice, new school advice. It's right there, like, hey, what would you do here? What do you think about this, or what do you think about that? I'm always a big fan of that. And then plus, we get to see. I've not seen Minoru Tanaka on a show. Obviously, he wasn't working in years, and considering the fact that we get to see him, whether it's a cardboard cutout of him or not, that remains to be seen. But the fact that they showed him in the crowd, I thought was really cool. So again, I'm always a big fan of when these wrestlers come in and they have the pedigree. They literally have it in their blood. And again, it's just more members of the Marigold roster for wrestlers to look out for. And then we're literally going to be seeing a lot of these talents, very much like we do at Stardom, literally from match 1. And then we will see them, growing from, month 4, month 6, a year, 2 years, 3 years, and be like, remember when they were a rookie, or remember this, or remember that, very much like we did with Utami when we had our roundtable discussion with Karen not that long ago, where we're talking about Utami in her rookie year and then going to the finals of the 5-star Grand Prix and now wrestling in one of the biggest Joshi matches that we've seen in years. So it's really cool to see these wrestlers be, okay, we may see this wrestler in 4, 5, 6 months after they passed their protest at the Marigold Dojo. So yeah, really cool to see. And again, it's another, you literally gave this person a platform in front of 3,000 people and how many more people watching worldwide. So really, really cool to be like, this is one to watch out for. So yeah, that was nice.
I think it speaks to the relationship with Rossi Ogawa as well. The fact that these legends are bringing their kids to Rossi. As we've said, Minoru Tanaka, obviously, and then we've had a new one as well in Amukai. I think that does speak to the respect that they have for Rossi Ogawa as a promoter. So yeah, I'm excited to see what they do. Obviously, I don't expect Amukai to come in and shock Sareee for the red belt. I don't expect the Amukai shock in the same way as the Rainmaker shock, but who knows? Who knows? This is pro wrestling. Though I do just want to highlight this, by the way. Darren Chan, with all these wrestling companies working together, has there ever been a better time to be a wrestling fan? Yes, absolutely. We'd have to... Aside from all the politics and all that, I don't want to think about that. I just want to think about the fact that, hell yeah, I get to see this person on a wrestling show. And it's led to IYO Bloody Sky turning up at Ryogoku and wrestling Utami Hayashishita. If anybody thinks that that's a bad thing, you are watching the wrong promotion. And as Matt Turner always says, I just want to come and give you a hug. Because clearly you're just looking for something to be negative about. But yes, I completely agree with you, Darren. Yes, there's always going to be negatives to that, always, because everything has negatives, because we're human beings. However, I choose, probably because Matt's contagious, I choose to see the positives. And again, the positives are IYO SKY turned up at Ryogoku. That's the massive thing here. And we talked earlier. We were joking about people turning up at the Dreamstar Grand Prix. I think it was the Misfit Wrestling podcast mentioned Kyrie. Don't think that will happen, but that's actually a possibility. And all these doors being knocked down is a massive, massive possibility. Moving on, then we had the tag team match with Chiaki and Nagisa Nozaki defeating Myla Grace and Zayda Steel. Chiaki pinning Zayda Steel with the Moonwolf, her Argentine buster, in 8 minutes and 40 seconds. A couple of things to point out about this. Sonny on commentary did say that people online had been pointing out that Chiaki wasn't bad enough. She was called the Bad Dark Wolf, yet there wasn't any darkness. And I was like, I think that might have been exactly word for word what I said. Do you know what? I agree. That is what I said. And do you know what? Now that she's embraced this heel side, I'm all for it. And it wasn't a negative, that at all. It was more a case of, right, I know you're a good wrestler. Let's see what else you've got now. So I'm absolutely fine with that. I'm absolutely fine that she's a heel now. I'm absolutely fine with this relationship with Nagisa Nozaki. I think they work really well with each other. And genuinely, I know that we said before about Myla Grace not looking like she was quite up to speed. This was a couple of podcasts ago because we've seen her progress really well. She was really, really good in this match, as was Zayda Steel. I think both of them, Matt, had a really, really good performance here.
Yeah, I thought this was a really good match to follow the time limit draw. Again, another tag match. You're doing tag match after tag match until we start getting to the crux of really why we're here, again, to build their tag division. My only negative here is I thought we were going to get Myla Grace and Zayda Steel as a normal tag team, but clearly that did not happen. But I understand with the whole Nozaki brings in the chair, there's a ref bump, we get it. We know that Chiaki and Nozaki are kind of our big heel tag team, kind of our going to cut quarters to win matches tag team. And you need that because you need heels to get baby faces over. Again, wrestling is dragons and dragon slayers. And then as Myla Grace, or Zayda Steel goes to use the chair, and then Myla Grace grabs the chair off her and says, basically, no, we don't need this. Like, let's try to win this, like, clean. And then it ultimately leads to their downfall. So easy story to tell. It's a match to get the heels over. Again, I thought we were going to have Myla and Zayda as a tag team, but now it looks like we're going to be having them feud, which is fine because we set something up. We left doors open. We have more questions than answers, which is what we want on these kind of underneath tag matches as we move on from this show. But yeah, we've been singing Myla Grace and Zeta Steele's praises the last 2 or 3 podcasts, just how much they've improved. And the fact that they're going to be going into the summer in this feud, it's going to be really, really interesting. So it's going to be considering the fact of how much they've improved since show number 1 till now. Now it looks like they're going to be putting a program together. I'm all for it. And again, this was kind of my prediction, my lock prediction, that we're going to get the new heel tag team a win here. This is what they needed. I thought the way they did about it was great. 8 minutes, not, it didn't overstay its welcome. 3.25 stars for me. The match was good, but I like what they set up afterwards. And that's where I'm really intrigued with Myla and Zeta.
The thing Zeta has is that inherent quality to draw all eyes to her. And I think that's a really important quality. I know that obviously she's sort of that tweener that's sort of going towards being a heel. I like the fact that all is not well in that team, because actually they've been teasing unrest between the two for months. I know that they did a show where Zeta and Myla were teaming and Myla got pinned, and Zeta then did an interview afterwards and said, yeah, but I didn't get pinned, so I haven't lost. So, they are sort of playing on the fact that, yeah, they're in a tag team, but Zeta Steele is ultimately looking out for number 1. And that's something that Stu and Sonny brought up on commentary, the fact that Zeta Steele is primarily looking out for herself. So it wouldn't surprise me if we build on this. It wouldn't surprise me if tomorrow on social media, we get the announcement of a Twin Star Championship tournament. Zeta Steele and Myla Grace are entered into it as a team, and even more dysfunction end up leading to them having a singles match, maybe at the Korakuen Hall show, because they've got a Korakuen Hall show, I believe, in 2 weeks' time, I think, on the 30th of July, I think. So I think that's the next Korakuen. There might be one before that. I've got the show notes to go through in the previews. But again, I thought they worked really well. Chiaki as a heel just works. Her entire gimmick, her entire moveset, the way she acts, everything lends itself, pardon me, to being a heel. Maybe she just needed a reason to be heel, and clearly I was that reason that Chiaki needed to become heel.
You were the trigger. You were the fuse.
I was the trigger. No, in all seriousness, I think Chiaki as a heel works. Her and Nagisa Nozaki work as a pairing. There was a couple of issues with the chair, the fact that she hit Myla Grace that hard that the chair disintegrated. But overall, it's something that needed to happen. We've set up another cohesive tag team in Chiaki and Nagisa Nozaki, who I'm sure will be entered into that Twin Star Championship tournament, which means that we've got the Passion Sisters, Chiaki and Nagisa Nozaki. We've got the Twin Towers. We've potentially got Yuzuki and Tanaka. We've potentially got Zeta Steele and Myla Grace, and that's without thinking about Utami and Mirai, for example, or Mai Sakurai and Mirai, who I know have tagged on a lot of these Wrestle Universe shows. So there are a lot of tag teams that can be going round. I mean, Natsumi Shozuki and Misa Matsui have tagged together, so it wouldn't surprise me if they're entered into the tournament. That's assuming, of course, that we have a tournament and don't just do what they did with the World Championship and just say, right, these two teams, this is for the belt, which, again, I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to, dependent on who the two teams are. Moving on then, we have our first championship match in Marigold history, the Super Fly Championship Tournament final match. Natsumi Shozuki defeating Misa Matsui in 14 minutes and 51 seconds after reversing a pinfall. Matt, I mentioned it before, but Natsumi Shozuki behind Hazuki and Mayu Iwatani is one of my favorite wrestlers. Honestly, she is absolutely fantastic. And to come back from an injury that ultimately led to her retirement in 2013, to then come back and be as good as she is. I know that she was the AWG champion before the split, but to come back and just look like she hasn't missed a beat. To come back and win a championship in Ryogoku, where she won the titles with Kairi Hojo in Stardom in 2013. It was just a really, really nice story. Wrestling really aggressively, worked really well against that natural high speed style of Misa Matsui, who throws, by the way, one of the best running knees I've ever seen. Yeah. The height she got in the ring when she hit Natsumi was incredible. That's nothing, though. That's nothing. Because you know the spot I'm going to talk about, and it was just chef's kiss. And this here is why I love Natsumi Shozuki. She pegged it, absolutely pegged it from the door all the way to Misa Matsui, who's on her knees on the outside of the ring. Now, ordinarily, you see people start to pull back just as they're about to hit this move, just so that, for safety's sake. Not Natsumi Shozuki. No. If anything, she accelerated. And my God, she nearly took Matsui's head off with this double knees. It was brutal, to the point where it pretty much exploded Matsui's face. At least I think that's the only spot I can think where that would have caused the blood that came from Matsui's nose and mouth. Absolutely brutal spot. And then it just accelerated from there. I thoroughly enjoyed this match. You've got Matsui, who clearly excelled in the speed style of it. You've got Shozuki, who, for my mind, really excelled in the technique style of it. And Sunny and Stu did a really good job telling everyone that this isn't just about speed. Okay, the Superfly title is not just who's the quickest, who can do the moves the quickest. It's a melding, a blend of who is the quickest, but also who has got that technique. And for me, Natsumi Shozuki is the perfect blend for that. I know that everyone is behind Misa Matsui, as they should be. She's a phenomenal babyface, and she will be the star of that division without a shadow of a doubt. But for now, we've built a story. Misa Matsui has something to aspire towards. We can get towards it. And if you remember on the preview show, this is exactly what I wanted to happen. I wanted Natsumi Shozuki to win because she's awesome. No, I wanted her to win because then Misa Matsui has something to aspire to get to. She can build herself back up. She's got this crowd support, as you could hear from Ryogoku. She's got that crowd support to go after this belt again in 2-3 months' time. Brilliant match, 4 stars from me. Really, really good from both women. And again, Shozuki for me is the low key, obviously on a show that had IYO SKY, Utami Hayashishita, and all of these fantastic wrestlers. She was a low key MVP for me. I thought she was absolutely tremendous.
Yeah, I mean, considering the fact that this ended with the two of them going back and forth on the cradles, back and forth. Oh my God, this poor referee is going to be blown up. And then eventually he got all the way to 3. And I'm like, oh, it got caught. Like Misa got caught. So now when we've seen that Ross Yogawa booking Marigold has got no problem of doing automatic rematches if it makes sense. I don't think anybody's going to say no to this match.
No,
if they announce that this is like the main event of the show coming up, like next week, we're like, we're in. Just tell me when it's going up on Wrestle Universe. Like we're in, no problem. I mean, this was great, and it was basically a 50-50 match. But yeah, I mean, let's talk about that spot where I mean, it was for you fans of NBA Jam. Again, I'm a 90s kid. For you fans of NBA Jam, the arcade game or the video game, it was like she hit the turbo button when she went to when she went to the part where she's going to go run, because she went so fast and then hit her with those knees. Yeah, I don't know where Misa's face kind of exploded. It could have been there. There were some kicks after that as well, and some forearms. So it could have been a little bit of everything. And kudos to Misa, because the last 2 matches, she was a second, and you could see she had the gauze underneath her lip. Like she was still, I was like, wow, like what a badass that was. She is great match. It was basically a 50-50 match with the two of them going back and forth. You have the high-speed style starting out in the beginning. You have the strikes. You have the counters. It seemed like Misa, towards the middle of the match, she had a counter for everything that Natsumi Shozuki was going to do. I made mention maybe about 2 or 3 episodes ago that Natsumi likes to do the spot where her opponent's trying to get out of the ring, and she runs, and then she jumps on the second rope and uses it as a slingshot for the double knees. Yeah. Misa rolled out. I don't think I've seen Natsumi miss that move before, so I thought that was really cool. But then when she rolled out the danger to that double knee spot. So I liked how Natsumi kept the pressure on, but then only for Misa to kind of come back and forth. And then I liked how Misa uses the quesadora, basically the rolling hold into the double stomp. But then she did it like 3 times in a row. Like 1 wasn't enough. She kept having to do it to try to not only get the pin, but to slow down the onslaught at that part of the match of Natsumi Shozuki. I like how Misa, I love the, I know it's like the cross leg star crutch. It's called the Maui suplex. Do I have that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so, yeah.
I really like that move. And kudos to Sonny and Stu. And I actually sent Sonny an email about an hour after the show was done, saying about what a great job everybody did, and then him and Stu on commentary. But kudos to them, because, again, you have a lot of new eyes on this product that are coming to basically see IYO in the ring, or maybe Giulia, or maybe Sareee, that may not know who Natsumi Shozuki is, considering the fact that when she got in the ring, before she even took her ring jacket off, they mentioned she was a former tag champ with Kairi. You know her as Kairi, Kairi Hojo, Kairi Sane. So already, if this is the first time you're seeing Natsumi Shozuki, you're like, wait a minute, this girl's the real deal, because she was a tag champion with somebody that we're seeing on Monday Night Raw every week. And given the opportunity, Kairi crushes it on Monday Night Raw. So kudos to the announce team for putting over Natsumi to the newer audience that has never seen her wrestle before, which I'm assuming a lot of new eyes, especially over here in the States, because they wanted to see IYO, that they're like, well, this girl's the real deal. And this match was the real deal. Totally agree with you, brother. I had this match at 4 stars. My only negative thing about this match, and I'm going to throw it over to you for a question. We've seen how Stardom, the last handful of shows, are starting these shows out with a hot match to get the crowd going. The crowd was kind of quiet up until maybe this match. Do you think that this match should have started this show, starting the match with a hot opener, outside of your pre-show match? Because my answer is yes. I think this match should have started the show. I understand Rossi's booking. We've seen him do it in Stardom and before that. And I'm not going to tell a genius like Rossi how to book shows, but he always starts with maybe like the lower matches just to kind of build, maybe get the crowd a little warm. But at the same time, I'm a big fan. ECW always used to do it. I'm a big fan of starting off your pay-per-views, your big shows, with a really, really hot match to get the crowd engaged and then kind of keep them there for the rest of the show.
Before today, I would have actually started with Miku Ano versus Mirai. That's the match I'd have started with. But we did talk about before, how they were potentially going to use the back-to-back matches as a way for Bozilla to win and not hurt, whoever came out of on top of Miku Ano and Mirai. I do agree with you. I think a hot match opening a show would be great. I think this would have been the perfect one to open that match. But again, it's a small complaint. I do agree with you. But I have a question for you. I'd like to borrow a segment from friend of the show, Andy Hedder. Both these women, new hairstyles, brand new hairstyles. And Jason Camp actually says, my main critique is that I don't think Misa's extensions really worked. Now, what did you think of Misa Matsui's extensions?
I know what you're trying to say. Who had the best hair? Who had the best costume? This was like going to the prom night here, because everybody had new gear. Like, rightfully so. You see it every year at WrestleMania. Every year forever, everybody has new gear. You're debuting at the big show, which we knew was going to happen. The extensions, I guess they kind of worked for. I'm not going to complain about that. Like, what do I know? Like, and again, I'll always go to, again, not to go back onto Stardom. I always go to how not to play one show her hair is short and the other it's really, really long. It's like, boy, I don't know what's in that water that they're using over at Stardom. And obviously, I'll say that in jest. And I mentioned this before, that my sister-in-law is a hairdresser, and my wife will be, that's clearly hair extensions. I'm like, you've never been in Japan. You don't know what's in the water. Maybe their hair grows out. If you remember when Kurt Angle, that match with Edge, he got his head shaved and he came out a week later and he had his hair and he goes, oh, I grew it out just for kicks. Maybe that's what it was. Maybe she grew it out just for kicks. I know problem with it.
That was real hair.
Yeah. Are you going to argue with Kurt Angle, Hall of Famer, in 1996 Olympic gold medalist? Like, who are we? But
exactly.
In all seriousness, obviously they wrestled a great match. I thought their outfits, the costumes, everything, the whole presentation of both these wrestlers, I thought were A+. And I will say, once Andy Hedder does get to watch this show, I will ask him what his hairstyle of the night was and what his favorite ring gear was, and I will get back to you fine listeners on that answer. So, because he's got like the best ring gear on the indies. Like, it's just crazy. Like, and he designs them all. He just sends it out to the person he uses for his gear. So I thought they both looked great. And Natsumi Shozuki, she looked like a bigger star going in than she already did. So kudos to them. Again, even though with the loss with Misa Matsui, I think a lot of us had her. And you might have been the only one that thought that Natsumi Shozuki was going to win. So good on you, buddy. You're on a roll here. You were on fire. But I thought Misa was going to win. But again, considering the fact that it was a 50-50 match and it ended with a roll-up going the other way, and it was like 5 or 6 of them back and forth where any one of these ladies could have got caught. And it was just Misa that got caught at the right time for Natsumi, wrong time for her. So again, you could run this one back, or you could build Misa back up. Maybe they run it back soon and it goes to a time limit draw, and then you build Misa back up for that title. Or maybe Natsumi's doing a great job drawing as the flyweight champion, and then we're going to keep the belt on her. that's one or two different ways you can go about it. I mean, not everything has to be set in stone because you never know what the audience is going to go for. And again, if Natsumi is drawing as a champion and, putting it, as Jim Ross says, an ass every 18 inches and making the company more money, then there's no reason to take the belt off her. But there's a lot of different ways you can go about it. But I'm all here for a rematch between these two because this was really, really great. And really, this is where the show just got, it was leveled. It was pretty good. And then it hit like here, and then it either stayed here or just got better.
Just to sort of piggyback onto what Jason Camp's saying, he's sort of went on and after the extensions bit, talked about how as hard hitting a match, I think a bigger finisher or pinfall would have flowed better than a reverse roll up. I can completely see what you're talking about there, Jason, to be honest. However, for me, they were telling the story very much of these two know each other very, very well, as proved by the spot Matt was talking about with the slingshot knees. And if you remember, both of them had hit their big moves and the other had kicked out of them. So rather than it being something that they knew, it was a surprise that it took for the pinfall to happen. So actually, I don't actually have an issue with how it happened. I think my only issue is that it was sort of similar to the pre-show match, but this was executed far better. But again, if you are sort of saying that the Superfly Championship is akin to the High Speed Championship in Stardom, the amount of High Speed Championship matches that have been finished with a roll-up or a roll-up reversal or a reversal of some sort into the final winning pinfall, it's unsurprising that the match ended this way. But again, I think they are piggybacking onto the idea that Natsumi Shozuki and Misa Matsui have teamed together so often, have been against each other so often, that they know each other's movesets inside out, and it took something surprising for the match to end. I think that's probably where they're going with that. I could be wrong, but that was my interpretation of it anyway. Moving on then, we had a 6-woman tag team match, the LLPWX Dojo on a pole match. LLPWX, Nori, Shinobu Kandori, and Takako Inoue defeating the Passion Sisters team of Mai Sakurai, Nanae Takahashi, and now Ishikawa in 15 minutes and 33 seconds. Nori pinning now Ishikawa with a rolling kick. Couple of things to point out. Shinobu Kandori might be the most terrifying person I've ever laid eyes on in my entire life. The fact that her nickname is Mr. Joshi Wrestling really made me laugh. And Takako Inoue looks like she has not missed a step. The woman is close to 50 and looks like she hasn't aged a day from her AJW JWP days. It's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. But the biggest thing to come out of this match was, of course, the return of Mai Sakurai's hat. Unfortunately, it clearly wasn't big enough because Marigold lost. But what was your opinion of this match, Matt? I personally thoroughly enjoyed it for what it was. We knew it was going to be, shenanigans and things like that, but I thought Nanae was a standout. I thought she was fantastic. And again, I'm going to put her over again, like she needs me to put her over. 48-year-old, God, 27-year veteran. But she just seems completely rejuvenated. It seems like a completely different person than at the tail end of her latest Stardom run. Seems to be thoroughly enjoying herself, embracing the people around her, and has undoubtedly the best threads of anyone in Stardom, because the tie-dye shirt and the lime green suit that she had on at the press conference, incredible. I cannot wait for that to go on sale at the Marigold store. But Matt, your opinion on this match?
Just want to get the one negative thing out of the way here is the scary incident we had with Kandori and Mai Sakurai. She
that
basically,
was the one.
Yeah, she hit the clothesline. I don't know if it caught her in the jaw, but then somebody was saying when Sakurai went to go take a bump, they think she hit her head on the ropes, and right here is a soft spot. So I mean, it looked like maybe she got her bell rung, and they were trying to get her out of there. You can kind of tell it was just like, okay, you kind of have a 6-person tag. You can try to get her out of there. So once they kind of realized that Sakurai wasn't all there, that Takako Inoue kind of just gave her a light boot to sell towards the corner, and then she tagged out, and then she quickly rolled out, and you could see the seconds were tending to her. Yeah, so I like that. And again, sometimes it looked like she just got her bell rung because she came back into the match, and she seemed like she was fine. She was fine, and she even did the Goodwin elbow drop. And again, as much as we joke about that, like Literally, it's in my notes. It's in my notes here. Nanae hits a superplex. Goodwin elbow drop from the top, the top rope, and then now Ishikawa hits the Angel's Wings for a 2 count on Nori. Literally, that's what I call it, the Goodwin elbow drop. But in all seriousness, before we get to back joking about the Goodwin elbow drop, if you have a concussion or a slight concussion, 1, you're not climbing the ropes. 2, you're not doing a bump off the ropes. For obvious reasons, you're not going to hurt yourself or hurt your opponent. And again, we joke about the elbow drop. It was safe. Regardless, it's a terrible move. Anyway, so I'm back and wrap up on that one. But again, I'm glad Mizo. I haven't heard anything different, whether she had a concussion and maybe she just got her bell rung and had that. It was a scary thing because again, it looked like she got clotheslined and the ropes might have hit her in the neck. And last thing you want is to have a neck injury. I mean, a head injury is bad, but last thing you want is a neck injury. So I'm glad she was okay and she was able to finish the match. She was great. Again, another one with a new outfit. I thought she looked terrific, not only with her outfit, but she looked great in the ring. She put Kandori in a paradise lock, which Stu and Sonny put together like, oh my God, my Sakurai has put Shinobi Kandori, Mr. Joshi Wrestling, in the paradise lock. Like, how insane is that? And that is, I guess, a feather in her cap. Pun intended. Look at that. I do have to say, though, six wrestlers in this match. I've seen all of these wrestle before, except for Nori. Had no idea who she was. Too. Thought maybe she was just in this match because we needed a place to put Sakurai. And she was the MVP of this match. She was great. Like, holy geez, she's terrific. She did look great with Nanae, with Ishikawa, and obviously with Sakurai. And then she even got the win with like this rewind kick. Was like, wow. Like, that is something to put somebody over in this match. Again, Marigold's first really, really big show in front of over 3,000 people. I hope that they bring her back. Again, I've never seen her before. If there's anybody that has any matches that suggest, let us know. You guys know how to get a hold of us, right there and right over there.
There you go.
But I thought she was one of not only the MVP of this match, but one of the most impressive wrestlers on this card of the year show. I thought she was great. And again, they put her over huge, not only in getting the 3 count, but just like accentuating all of her positive in this match. And I want to see more of her. And maybe she's one of the wrestlers that is in their tournament coming up at the end of August. I mean, I wouldn't say she was highlighted really, really well here. And again, my guess is Nanae was the one putting together a majority of this match because she is the vet that is still on pretty much wrestling every week. I don't think Kandori's wrestling every week. Could be wrong, but I think that was specific where maybe she told Rossi, said, here's what I want in this match. Here's what we have going forward. And then, Nanae was basically like, well, if this is what we're doing forward, if we're going to be bringing Nori in, let's highlight her in this match and give her the win. That would be the way that I look at it. I hope that's not a one-off because I think she was great, and I think she would fit in fantastic in Marigold with Utami's, the Mirai's, the Miko Anos, the Natsumi Shozuki's, the Kokiyamare, Chikagotos, so on and so forth. I think that she'd be terrific here. This is a great match. It kind of got a little out of hand. They did the Oedo Tai style brawl, which we've been seeing Nanae do quite a bit on these last few shows, which I'm all for. Do you really want somebody yelling passion at you and then whipping a chair at you 30 miles an hour? No, it's scary. And then when she does it, she looks at the crowd and she gets her pop. So she knows how to work the crowd, obviously. But it got out of control in the right way here. Like once they got Sakurai out and she kind of got cleared, it was all over the place in a good way. Really good match, solid match, a fun match. 3 3/4 stars for me, my friend.
Yeah, I gave it 3 1/4. I did enjoy it, I must admit. I've also enjoyed Chris's comment here, Chrissy Miller. Nanae looked like she'd just been for a night out. It was interesting. She did look like she'd been on a hen doing Yuki. Yes, absolutely. It was the lime green cowboy hat, I believe. She did very much look like she was going clubbing afterwards, but I'm all here for it. Why not? I think you're absolutely right in terms of them putting Nori over and the fact that she was the one who was having the exchanges with Nanae afterwards. She was the one who was on the microphone. She was the one who was telling them that they can have the dojo, but they've got to clean up and everything. So, yeah, I agree. I think we are going to see her again in a Marigold ring. I think we're probably going to see her in some sort of program with Nanae, whether that is a tag program with her and now Ishikawa, or whether that is in the Dreamstar Grand Prix. I hadn't even thought about that, but I'd be very, very into that. Definitely. Jason Camp says, I do really like the way Mai rolls into the Paradise Lock over the last month or two. Yes, absolutely, Jason. We actually brought that up not long ago to say it looks far far smoother, far cleaner, doesn't it? The way far less contrived way of getting into it. And actually, a lot of her moveset recently has become a lot smoother and a lot less contrived, which is part of the reason why we've been sort of blowing a trumpet over the last couple of weeks, just because she's been that good. But then she keeps spoiling it by doing the Goodwin elbow drop. So
there it is.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. If you're listening, which I don't think you are, but if you are listening, please, for the love of God, do the guillotine leg drop. But most importantly, we hope you're okay, because it was a very scary moment that you mentioned, Matt, with the neck injury or the head injury or whatever it was, especially as to begin with, I think Kandori thought she was playing possum, and then it became very obvious very quickly that she wasn't. But again, she was out at the end with everybody else and seemed to be okay. Again, she did the elbow drop at the end of the match, so she seemed okay. There's been nothing published on any of the social media channels, or at least there hasn't that I've seen. Obviously, we're recording at the moment, so there might be something out there now, but nothing that we've seen that shows that she's injured or anything. So fingers crossed she's all okay. We then move on to the fourth installment of Miko Ano versus Mirai, the Marigold United National Title Tournament semi-final match rematch. Miko Ano defeated Mirai in 24 minutes and 14 seconds, pinning her with the Styles Clash. The commentary team were phenomenal during this match. They did a great job throughout the pay-per-view. And I know people are going to say, oh, they're only saying that because they're friends with Sonny. No, we're saying that because they did a tremendous job, and their knowledge and the way that they were telling the story, especially in this match, was really, really good. The way that they were telling the story of the fact that, right, well, they've gone to a 15-minute time limit draw the last 3 shows, and they've had the 5 minutes overtime. So that in itself is 20 minutes. And the moment we hit 20 minutes, they were like, right, they can't be separated again. The fact that it had to be 30 minutes to get a winner out of this, really, really good. The fact that they were talking about Mirai underestimating Miko Ano, and the fact that she was looking ahead to Bozilla without looking at what was right in front of her, really, really did a good job of putting Miko Ano over as this underdog babyface, which is wild when you consider that she was the ace of AWG. Overall, thought this was tremendous. These 2 women have proven just how good a time limit draw can be and how well it can be used as a booking device, because each of their matches have been completely different. Even this one, which is the 4th in I was going to say the trilogy. No, a trilogy's 3, Rob. Quadrilogy. Started completely different, because with the additional time, this match was 30 minutes as opposed to 15, which is what the standard is. They started a lot slower. They were a lot more cagey. And they were a lot more conservative with how they built things up, because they knew that this match, no matter what, was going to be the last one. They didn't want to be the first one to make the mistake. So that this was automatically different. And then the crescendo that this built to was brilliant. Mirai's selling of the armbar was brilliant. The fact that the commentary again put over Miko Ano, how she's been going to the K1 dojo to practice her kicks, and then the kicks raining down on Mirai brutally. Those lariats that both women threw, incredible. Now, I know that a couple of people are going to have issues with Mirai losing. And I am going to talk about that in a moment, because I know Colin especially is not impressed, because he's actually put in the comments here. Mirai losing was bad enough, but the fact she didn't even get the title match was a lousy decision. I was so mad after this match, by the way. I'm going to talk about that in a minute, Colin, because you are justified in your opinion. Absolutely. But we're going to talk about that in a moment. But this match itself, taking the result out of it for a moment, this match was brilliant. Both these women are special, special talents. We've put over, since we started the Marigold standard, since we first saw Marigold Fields Forever, how the brand new coat of paint has benefited Mirai so much. She is the one person that's come over from Stardom and feels like a completely new wrestler, with perhaps the exception of Nanae Takahashi to a certain extent. But she's completely different. She's selling better. She's connecting more with the crowd. She's adapting more into her offense. She's quicker. She's more vicious. She's more aggressive. And genuinely, I think she's going to be an absolute star, and she's a shoo-in to be a Marigold World Champion. Whereas in Stardom, if you'd have asked me, is Mariah ever going to be the World of Stardom champion? I don't think she would have been. I don't think she would have been at all. However, here, I think she's an absolute shoo-in. Matt, what are your opinions of this match? Taking the result out of it for a minute, because that's something we can discuss. The match itself, what was your opinion?
I didn't mind the result. I don't think. I mean, again, we'll get to the result. And when we did our preview of this show, we both kind of figured Mariah wins, Bozilla wins. We kind of figured Bozilla wins the title is going to be our guess number one. Somebody said, no, your guess is wrong. We would have went with Mariah winning the belt. And then this probably was our third pick. Like, we just didn't see it coming. But how it built and how great this match was, and obviously we're huge fans of Miko Ano. Like, I was like, oh, I'll take it. Like, it didn't matter to me because Bozilla is insanely over. Mariah, again, has been one of our favorites for the last year and a half, 2 years. Miko Ano is one of our new favorites for the last 2 or 3 months. So it's just like, to me, it was, as long as the story was good and these two matches were good, I'm fine with it. Both these matches were great. So I had no issue with it. I understand people like, we thought it was going to go to Mariah, or some people like, Bozilla's insanely over. Like, she's organically over. How come it didn't go to her? I see that. I completely understand. And again, it's wrestling. You're more than entitled to your opinion. So I see where I saw where everybody was going there. As far as the match, you needed to offer something a little bit different in this match, and you had that with the chain wrestling in the beginning. Like, you had like they went for the takedowns. They were trying to see who can get the advantage on their feet for probably a good 2 or 3 minutes. Not on their feet, excuse me, on the ground for a good 2 or 3 minutes, and then they separate it. And Rob, you know where I'm going with this. They had maybe lockup of the night. Where usually most of these matches start. I love it. Most of these matches start with a lockup, right? It's just the way that it is. Where this one, they wrestled around for a couple minutes, and then once they had a stalemate, which they've had for 60 minutes, they went to the lockup. I'm like, oh, now it's getting really intense. And the psychology was simple. Mariah tried to fire off an early lariat. Miko Ano ducked, started going to Mariah's arm with kicks. Then Miko Ano tried to do the buzzsaw kicks and the kicks to the solar plexus. Mariah stopped it, went to the leg. Easy strategy to tell. Mariah loves to use the lariat. Miko Ano loves to use the kicks. So they're breaking down each part of the body. So you kind of have, again, this 50-50 match, and then they start having a forearm trade-off, which Mariah kind of gets the better of. And then the two of them start having a lariat off, which, again, we put over Mariah's lariats all the time. Miko Ano was not only taking it, it literally sounded like cars crashing over and over and over. I thought that was a really good spot. Considering the fact they had 24 minutes to fill, they did a great job not rushing through anything, selling, letting the crowd settle down, and then get back up. Then Mariah looks like she finally has it. She goes for the mirror Mariah shock. Miko Ano slips out behind, and they start hitting backdrop suplexes, one after another after another. Mariah hits one lariat, and I'm like, that's probably not going to do it because this is going to be their big final match for now. Kicks out of the one lariat. I'm like, I wonder what's going to happen here. She goes and hits a second lariat, which I have no problem with somebody hitting their finisher back to back because you have them stunned on the one finisher. It didn't do the deal. Let me do it again. But then Miko Ano kicks out, and I didn't see that. Like, I was literally writing in my notes like, this is going to be the finish. And then Mariah goes to the top to go for Aces High, which we've only seen her use a handful of times in big matches. So I was like, oh, this is cool. She's going to this, and then maybe she'll hit the mirror Mariah shot for the finish. That, like, she's just going to blitz Miko Ano with all these finishers, and that's a good way to keep Miko Ano strong, which I was fine with. But then what happens is she comes down, and Miko Ano takes a step back, plants her foot, and on the way down, she gets hit in the head with that head kick that eventually leads to the Styles Clash, which they did tease about a minute and a half earlier. So I was like, that was cool. That was really cool how they teased really the Styles Clash. We didn't get it. We teased the mirror Mariah shock. We didn't get it. We're building up the kicks and the lariats in between the holds to basically say, I need to hit this big move to go to my next move. But we were able to get that stop and countered. Eventually, though, she hits that head kick. And then she hits a buzzsaw kick afterwards that ultimately leads to the Styles Clash. Again, if I was booking this, I would have put Mariah over. I got no problem with this because Miko Ano is insanely over. She's somebody new we're trying to establish. I kind of have a theory where we're going. I have a feeling you might have the same theory, brother, but we'll get into that in a moment. Great match. Every one of these matches got better. As good as match 1 was, match 2 was better. As good as match 2 was, 3 was better. As good as match 3 was, match 4 was better. And again, I liked it how, and again, Sunny and Stu put over, like she gets 2 seconds of rest, and then here comes the monster. And ultimately, and then you see like when they're doing the championship introductions, and we'll get into the finish of the match in a second, but when they get to the championship introductions, Bozilla's just ready to pounce. And Miko Ano looks like, I am exhausted. I just went 25 minutes with Mariah. I survived so much. It took a miracle head kick for me to lead to the Styles Clash to get this win, and now I have this monster. But 4.5 stars for me, brother. I just curious on what you thought and your star rating.
So I gave it 4.25 stars. Absolutely loved it. And I just want to sort of bring up another comment that Colin's actually put up. Do you see the video of her sobbing her heart out backstage afterwards? Now, I haven't. I'd seen the thumbnail of it. I haven't actually seen the video.
Who's her?
Mariah.
Miko? Oh, Mariah. Okay.
Yeah, which I love. And that's going to sound horrible. And I don't mean it to sound like that. But one thing that I always thought that Mariah didn't have enough of in Stardom was that emotion. That genuine emotion with the crowd. Now, yes, she did the clap. She was smiley. She was happy. That's not what I mean. I mean, like, she wasn't feeling the emotion of the matches. And here, the fact that she's crying after doing these brilliant backstage bits, love that. Absolutely love that, because it adds another layer for people to want to get behind Mariah and support Mariah. That's what we want. We want her to be over. We want her to be this incredible babyface, and doing little bits like this. We saw how good it was with Mina Shirakawa. When Mina Shirakawa was busted open and was sobbing her heart out and did this amazing promo backstage and became one of the biggest babyfaces in Stardom almost overnight. Like, it works. Now, in terms of Miko Ano winning, I think, like, again, I thought they were going to put Mariah over. Do I particularly mind that Miko Ano went over? No, absolutely not. And the more I thought about it, again, it all comes down to, you are losing Giulia. You have got to start elevating some of your talent. To a certain degree, Mariah's already up there. Mariah's already one of your main talents alongside Utami. I don't think they're on the same level. I think it's Utami and then the rest of the roster. But in terms of sort of your totem pole of Marigold wrestlers, Mariah's up there, Utami's up there. Who else is up there? Well, after this star-making performance between this and the match with Bozilla, Miko Ano's bloody up there. She is one of the biggest stars in Marigold after this performance. And I think this has cemented her as one of the biggest names in Marigold. And that's really important, because you are going to have to rely on your Utamis, on your Mariahs, on your Miko Anos, on your Natsumi Shozukis. Once Giulia has gone to NXT, and you can't rely on her star power, you can't rely on an IYO SKY to bring in thousands of tickets every week, because she's not there, or for every pay-per-view, because she's not there. So you have to start elevating your roster. So many people who are watching Marigold, again, me and Matt included, are from Stardom, are watching because of the wrestlers from Stardom, which immediately sets your Actress girls at a disadvantage, because we don't know as much about them. Okay, we are expecting your Mariah to be the first white belt champion, Utami to be the first red belt champion, or Giulia to be the first red belt champion. However, in putting that onus on Miko Ano after 3 consecutive time limit draws, and let's not forget that this has organically built Marigold's first feud. Okay, Miko Ano and Mariah is now your feud for the ages. It's something that you could constantly revisit. You can revisit it for the white belt. You can revisit it for the red belt, or the crimson red belt, and the pure white belt, which is what they're calling them now, which I actually really like as well. You can revisit it for a Dream Star Grand Prix final. I really, really like the fact that you are building this mythos, this legacy between Miko Ano and Mariah. Yes, I'm disappointed that Mariah doesn't have a title. Yes, I think she fully deserves a title. However, I also think she is going to bigger and better things. Okay, I think she bypasses that white belt entirely, and I think she is probably someone who is going to be getting that red belt in 2025. So yes, I am disappointed, but also I can completely see why they've put this out on Miko Ano. I've seen in the comments, there's so many people who've said this was my match of the show. Miko Ano was a star. You know, she's come out of this cemented at the top of the company. And I feel like that was mission one for this match. And I think that's really, really, really good booking. Again, you're perfectly entitled to be upset that Mirai didn't get a championship match. I'm upset Mirai didn't get a championship match. I love Mirai. She's one of my favorites in Marigold. However, I think this made sense. And do you know what? It's not like Miko Ano was just gifted this championship, was it? She had to work her ass off for it. And do you know what? There's so many people that I've seen on social media that are singing the praises of Miko Ano. And I'm so happy for that because genuinely she deserves, yeah, exactly, me too. She deserves the plaudits. She deserves the praise. And hell, I hope that she does. I hope she holds that white belt for a while, continues to put over, you know, imagine a Misa Matsui versus Miko Ano white belt match. Imagine a Nanae Takahashi and a Miko Ano white belt match with Miko Ano winning.
Right.
Yeah. Nanae Takahashi does not need to hold a singles belt in Marigold. But imagine like the matches that she could have, and she could be that Hazuki style or that Saya Kamatani style of anyone who steps in the ring with her for the white belt is immediately elevated. I think Mirai could have done that as well, but I think it's brilliant. And it really does it's a vote of confidence in Miko Ano. And Collins just said it was my second favorite match of the show. It was a fantastic standalone match, whether you liked the finish or not. Fantastic match.
Yeah, I mean, imagine this. You're building, obviously, Miko Ano's a killer. She's training at the K1 dojo. We knew going in she's got great striking. She uses a great finisher, AJ Styles, who's also had a great match in Japan, which I didn't get to see yet.
So, yeah.
But I heard it was great. Just imagine this. You're building her up as this killer. Like, what is going to put Miko Ano away to get this white belt away from her? And what if, Rob, there's only one move in all Marigold that can do it? Climbing up the...
Don't say it.
Anyway,
don't do this, Turner.
anyway, I'm not going to say it. Use your imagination, like the Alfred Hitchcock thing. It's you don't see the violence, you don't see the kill, you don't see the blood. It's your imagination that makes it worse, like in Psycho. In all seriousness, you went a completely different way than what I thought. The reason why Mirai didn't win the championship here, and you had a really good point. My thing is with Mirai losing and not in a championship match, didn't walk out as champion, and Giulia in a championship match didn't walk out as champion. Do you think Rossi did not want to put a championship on his first championships to be on any of the Stardom wrestlers? The people say, well, that was just lazy booking. He just had the wrestlers he's been booking for the last 3 or 4 years and put championships on. Because that's the one way. And again, to me, there was, and I thought that Sareee was going to win the belt regardless. But you think that maybe that had something to do with his booking saying, and it could have been a win-win either way. You could have went with Miko Ano, which they did. You could have went with Bozilla, which we thought they were going to do. They could have went with Mirai, which is like what a lot of the fan base wanted to do. You would have been fine. You could have went with Giulia. Again, we made mention, what if Giulia takes that belt over to NXT and they promote it over on NXT and they promote the Marigold promotion over at NXT? That could have been a possibility. So there really wasn't a wrong answer, but there was a photo that was heavily put on social media like an hour after this match happened with that big group photo that everybody took where they zeroed, because everybody just left, they zeroed in on your 3 champions that Rossi Ogawa is the booker for, and none of them are Stardom wrestlers. Like, obviously, I know Natsumi Shozuki wrestled in Stardom, but that was a long time ago. You know what I mean, partner. Do you think that he purposely did that? And again, it wasn't a wrong booking. The fact that we had Natsumi Shozuki, Miko Ano, and Sareee as our champions, damn, those are 3 great wrestlers. And what a great way to start off your new promotion with your new champions. Do you think that went into any of his thought process when he put the first champions on the show or after the show?
I think there is a very high possibility, and I think he was very conscious of putting belts on Stardom wrestlers, especially to begin with. I think that Rossi is too old in the tooth and just doesn't care enough about like social media and stuff like that to care about people's opinions of it being lazy booking or anything like that. I think it's more a case of he's very aware of the fact that people are more familiar with the Stardom wrestlers and he needs to build the Actress girls up, because the Actress girls, as we've spent so long talking about, are phenomenal wrestlers but haven't had the exposure that they deserve. I don't think with Actress girls, no disrespect to the company itself, but Actress girls is not going to have gone to Ryogoku and drawn 3,000 people, is it? So I think it was more a conscious decision to show faith in the wrestlers that have been brought in. I think it was a conscious decision to elevate members of the Act-Res girls that have come in, specifically Natsumi Shozuki and Miku Aono. I think Natsumi Shozuki to a lesser extent, because obviously you had Misa Matsui as well, who was also from Out-Res Girls. But I think with Miku Aono in particular, you want to sort of set a stall that, right, just because they're Stardom, it doesn't matter, look at these as well. These are fantastic wrestlers as well. Just because they weren't in Stardom doesn't mean that you don't need to pay attention to them. And again, the two people who we spent most of this podcast singing the praises of, and Natsumi Shozuki and Miku Aono, both of whom don't wrestle for Stardom or haven't wrestled for Stardom. Well, Natsumi Shozuki since 2013. But overall, I think it was the right decision. I'm sad for Mirai, but again, fans of Mirai, I wouldn't worry. I think Mirai has proved that she is one of the biggest names in this company. And if she were to get the red belt, which I do think she will, I think she will be a very, very, very good top champion. Because again, she seems to be getting those intangibles that she wasn't quite getting in Stardom. And again, I'll echo what I said before. I don't think Mirai would have been that top person in Stardom. Whereas here, not just because there's a lack of traffic at the top, or a lack of the amount of people there. But yeah, I do think that she is better off here. I think holding off on her being a champion isn't the end of the world, because she will be the champion. I think she'll be the top champion as well. Jason says, also, it seems well established that Miku Aono has the best theme, and you want a great recognizable theme to go with your belt.
Half joking. Half joking. You take half joking out, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a banger of a theme. I will say, though, Mirai's new theme gets glossed over, because it's not quite as good as the Stardom one. Yeah, it's not quite as good as the Stardom one. It's still a banger, by the way. Still a really good song. Listen to that on Marigold Rise. It's on Spotify now. Free plug. There you go. Blitzball Champ says, Twin Tower versus Suzuki Tanaka, Shozuki versus Matsui, Mirai versus Aono, Utami versus IYO, and Giulia versus Sareee were my favorite 5. It's a good 5 matches. To be fair, mate, good 5 matches. They're all very, very good. Let's move on then to the trials and tribulations of Miku Aono as she goes on to face Bozilla immediately after this for the white belt, the pure white belt, the Marigold United National Championship. And she goes on to defeat Bozilla clean in 10 minutes and 13 seconds with a roll-up reversal. Big fan of this. I think I personally would have liked Bozilla to have got the championship. However, my main concern going into this was, if you pin Bozilla, where does she go from here? However, with a surprise roll-up, because Bozilla is quite literally just not paying any mind to Miku Aono at all. She's beaten her into the ground that much that she just does not see her as a threat. So a little bit of inexperience, which is completely understandable considering she's only 20 years old. Bozilla's 20 years old. That's baffling to me. She's so good for a 20-year-old. She's so big for a 20-year-old as well. She had guns when they announced her as well. She did that, and genuinely, it was like, good grief, they need their own postcode. But that being said, I think this works. Again, I've already explained, I'm not going to go back over why I think crowning Miku Aono as a champion was a really, really good decision in hindsight. I think Bozilla looked like a star. You heard the reaction she got when she walked out. The new gear, in terms of new gear, Matt, I'm going to go out on a limb and actually say new gear award goes to Bozilla. I think she looked tremendous. Started cheering because they thought, oh my God, it's Bozilla. And it's like you said, man, that theme, it's got that sort of aura about it, hasn't it? You know who's coming with it. But yeah, overall, what did you think of this match?
Her theme, real quick, while we're talking about, reminded me of Vader's theme. Remember, after the it's time, the dun,
yes.
Dun, dun, dun. You just know that a monster. She works very much like Vader did in the All Japan, New Japan days. But yeah. I mentioned Bozilla comes on, she's huffing and puffing. She just, and again, Sonny and Stu did a great job putting on commentary. She's been waiting for this match for 2 months. Hurry up and find out who I'm facing. And she literally doesn't find out until right after she comes out. She's ready to go and she's ready to kill. And Miko Ano, she did such a great sell job by just standing there in the buckle, looking like I just wrestled 25 minutes with this lady, this killer in Mirai that I couldn't beat after 60 minutes. And I finally got the win. And my prize is this to get the white belt. And she does this spot where she's hunched over in the corner and she flicks her hair up and you can see the sweat and the dirt in her face. And I'm like, oh my God, just in that look alone, she's like one of the top baby faces in this company. Just on that alone. And the bell rings. And instead of like trying to say keep away, she just like the hell with it, comes in and starts throwing those forearms to Bozilla. And Bozilla properly knows selling them. And it makes sense because one, it's Bozilla. Two, Bozilla's fresh. Miko Ano, she's not fresh. And again, Sonny and Stu, great job. They put a great job on commentary. Like those forearms and kicks are not going to have the sting they would have had 15, 20, 25 minutes ago because she's just been through this war with Mirai. Mirai, if you remember, wore down the legs of Miko Ano. And then she starts going to the low leg kicks, which is like kind of her only offense. It's like her only offense in the match. Then Bozil just properly beats her up. She gives a big suplex. That missile drop kick, like that Joshi-style drop kick that she sent Ano from one post to the other was like, holy jeez. She hits the Vader bomb, and I thought that was it. Because I made mention this is probably just going to be a quick sprint. I thought it'd go 4 or 5 minutes. The fact that it went 10 minutes and they're still able to tell such a great story is just to akin of how great of a wrestler these two ladies are. Really great story. And then you see Miko Ano, she tries for the Styles Clash, not once, but twice. And the 2 times that she tries for it, the crowd pops like, oh my God, are we really going to see this? And the second time, I'm getting ahead of myself, but Bozilla goes for the moonsault. She misses the moonsault, and Ano fires up with those kicks. And the Bozilla shrugs them off and hits an insane lariat. Probably the hardest lariat that Miko Ano took this entire night, which is saying something, considering the fact she took a few really good ones from Miss Lariat herself in Mirai.
Miss Lariat, indeed.
And then she goes for the second Styles Clash, and then Bozilla backdrops her. But when she does, Ano has the presence of mind to hang on to Bozilla and use her own leverage against her, stack her for the 3 count, and then gets the heck out of dodge. Bozilla goes to almost destroy the referee in the entire front row, this way keeping up with the character and the gimmick, right? Yeah. Saving face. Like, I think, like, did you quick count me or whatever? And then Bozilla leaves, and then we get the presentation. Again, phenomenally booked. The way that these 35 minutes were booked were fantastic. And then it sets the table for what we're going to talk about a little bit from here. Again, the Mirai match, 4.5 stars. This match with Bozilla, 4 stars. Ultimately, you just made Miko Ano, again, somebody we've been singing the praises since we first seen her in Marigold a few months ago. You just made her into complete main eventer. And we know that Rossi has got no problems taking his secondary belt. We've seen it with the Wonder Belt and putting it on big shows to main event, thus holding the prestige up. So I think Miko Ano will have no problem main eventing some of these big shows, Cork and Hall shows, KBS Hall shows, whatever in the future, defending this belt up against everybody in the roster. So kudos. Again, this wasn't the way that I saw it. Wouldn't be the way that I booked it. Do I have a problem with it? Hell no. I thought it was great. Again, 35 minutes, you get to see Miko. And Miko Ano had the most, again, you had the most, 3,100 people. Who knows how many people bought the pay-per-view? Who knows how many people in the upcoming weeks are going to watch this on Wrestle Universe when it goes to the regular feed. She had the most TV time here, 35 minutes, plus the entrances. So probably past 40. So, good on them. Good on them. So, excellent stuff, my friend.
Yeah, completely agree. I think I gave it 3 3/4. Everything you've just said. I don't think Bozilla comes out of this match any worse than she did going in. Yes, she's had her first pinfall loss, but I haven't seen anyone that's been like, oh, she's buried, she's done for. I mean, she tried to attack Rossi Ogawa. No one attacks Rossi Ogawa. Like, she proper went for him, and Rossi was just like, she is big. She is big. But yeah, overall, I think absolutely perfect booking. And, it's not the way me or you said it was going to go, but that's probably why me and you don't book for Marigold and why Marigold have just done 3,100 tickets at Ryogoku. Overall, I think it was really, really good booking. Yeah, completely agree with you. Moving on to a match that I can't imagine we're going to spend a lot of time on. Queen of Queens. Utami Hayashishita versus IYO SKY. IYO SKY defeating Utami Hayashishita in 23 minutes, 1 second with the moonsault. I'm going to get this out of the way straight away. I gave this match 5 stars. And the reason that I've given this 5 stars if I'm getting goosebumps, legitimate goosebumps at several points in this match, and it's making me feel that sort of thing, it has to be 5 stars. I found myself laughing at different points in this match. There was a point like right at the start where they locked up and then they locked eyes and they both started smiling at each other. And again, I got goosebumps all the way down both arms and I started laughing because I was just like, this is actually bizarre that this is actually happening. It's matches like that that don't happen very often that give you that sense of, oh my God. And this match came into it. We came into this match, with so much expectation. Like IYO SKY, one of the greatest female wrestlers of all time. Utami Hayashishita, someone who is not only one of the greatest wrestlers to come out of Japan, but also someone who was pinned as the ace of Marigold. What are they going to achieve? Not only did they achieve, they knocked it out of the park. IYO SKY didn't turn up. IYO SKY turned up. And not only did she just feel like she was on a level that no one else could get. Like she was just star quality doesn't do it justice. From the moment she walked out, from the moment those first bars of her WWE theme hit, there was just a sense of anticipation that rippled around Ryogoku. And it was such a tension that you literally could cut it with an knife. It was thick through the air. She came out, she rocked the hood back, and she was just IYO SKY all over again, from the way she was in ring to the moves she was doing to the speed at which she was doing it. And Matt, you summed this up perfectly, my friend. And I hope you don't mind me quoting one of your tweets. You said that it's when seeing, I think it was you anyway, I really hope it was you that said this, that seeing IYO turn up and wrestle like this makes you realize how much she has slowed down to match other people in WWE. And I could not agree more. This match was phenomenal. And yes, I am singing the praises of IYO SKY because why wouldn't I be? She's a phenomenal, generational talent. Utami Hayashishita she is it. She is it. She is the ace of Marigold. From 30 seconds in where she's sporting these huge welts and cuts and grazes all over her face to the moment that she hits that BT bomb. It's incredible. Absolutely incredible matchup. And Darren, whose comment I have lost, I was going to put it on the screen. He said that it's currently 9.6 on Cage Match with 70. But there you go, 9.69 out of 10 on Cage Match with 70 votes. It's now gone up to 9.72 after 80 votes. Everybody agrees that this match lived up to expectations. It not only reminded everyone of how good IYO SKY was, it also reminded everyone, oh my God, Utami Hayashishita is here to stay. She is our ace, and she is so damn good. I thought this match was one of my favorite matches of the year. Marigold's match of the year, without a shadow of a doubt. It's not even close. Overall, an absolutely blow away match, considering the huge amount of pressure that they both must have been under. I imagine pressure's like water off a duck's back, especially for IYO, who's been out in front of 70,000 people and knocked it out of the park against Bayley. But to do it with such enviable ease, like it's almost annoying how good they are and how easily it just seems to come to both of them. And it does make you realize just how good we've got it with Utami as well. And I hope, maybe starting with that Dreamstar Grand Prix, that she gets that opportunity at the top of the company to be that elevation tool, to put over new talent with these great matches, but still holding that belt in the same way that IYO didn't start. A phenomenal match, exceeded every single one of my incredibly lofty expectations. I don't think, maybe except for Mayu and Sareee, I don't think I've ever given an easy of 5 stars to a match. Incredible stuff. from aura to match quality to star making quality. Everything about this match absolutely slapped. I absolutely loved it, Matt.
Yeah, 5 stars for me, not only because of the match, but the whole presentation. You know, it was up there. I knew it was going to be high as I'm writing my notes. I'm kind of in the head when I'm going to write my star rating, and then I was getting ready to write 4.75, and then I just crossed it. I said no, because of the whole presentation, the build up. This is 5 stars. The fact that the crowd was going ballistic when IYO came in there, and the crowd was kind of quiet for majority of the show. They kind of had things went up the match before and whatnot, but like the fact that like once IYO came out, they were clearly behind IYO, and you could see IYO taking the WWE entertainment style, the American style of working the crowd. She added that in to the IYO SKY that we've known for 2015, 16, 17, and 18. Yeah, I mean, my tweet was I thought that was my tweet. I was kind of dead on. I was thinking about it when I was at the gym about 2 hours afterwards, that like this is because and we mentioned last week of how just unselfish IYO is, and a friend of the show, Allison Danger, has been on this podcast, and she's mentioned that she got to work with IYO in NXT for a little bit, and she said whatever you think of her as a wrestler, she's even a better person, which is going to say a lot because we think she's one of the best, if not the best, of all time, and still very much in her prime. But the fact that she literally had, I mean, that's again the unselfishness of the last 6 years she was in NXT and WWE, she could have been IYO SKY and made everybody look bad. But at the same time, who does that help? Nobody. Doesn't help anybody. Doesn't help the company out. Doesn't help her opponents out. Doesn't help the matches out. Doesn't help the crowd out. The fact that she was like, I need to slow down my style. And I thought she was just adapting. It was like we seen her the punishment that she took in those matches with Mayu and Kairi, Mako Satomura, and so on and so forth. And maybe it's like, okay, let me go work a style where I can wrestle a little bit longer. Where it's like that clearly we didn't know that clearly after this match. It's like, no, I need to work this. This is the American style, that I need to work. Mm-hmm. I literally can come in and on my first match back to this country under this style, I was the best wrestler on the show. Not even close. No disrespect to anybody else. The phenomenal Mirai, Miko Ano would be told over. Utami, Sareee, and Giulia. They were great. We'll get into a minute. Nobody was even close to IYO. Nope. No one was even close to IYO. She turned back. A lot of people are like saying she turned back the clock. No, she didn't. She was this IYO the entire time. She never got to show us this. She never got to show us this because it's a completely different style. And whether you like the WWE style or not, or you like both, or you're like me and you, where we love everything. Give us everything. We're all for it.
Just love it all.
Yeah, we love it all. We don't pick and choose. And I think tribalism in wrestling is the dumbest thing ever. But I'm not going to get on that tirade. But it's like, holy geez, like even like Utami, like the great Utami Hayashishita. And I mentioned this on the Marigold Standard last week. The next day when we recorded the Stardom Cast, I mentioned it here, saying this Utami Hayashishita in 2024 may be the best wrestler bell to bell that IYO's ever been in the ring with. As good as Mayu was in 16 and 17, she's not as good as Mayu in 21, 22 until we see Mayu now. Momo, as good as Momo was in 2018, wasn't as good as we would see Momo in 21, 22, 23. And IYO was gone. She's over in NXT and WWE. As great as Charlotte Flair is, Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné, Lila Valkyria, as we've been seeing, Bailey, the feud she had there, as great as those wrestlers are, in the ring, they're nowhere near as good as Utami. And I just recorded with our friend Scotty Wrestling for a roundtable discussion, which should be out in a couple of days. And I asked him that question. He said, no, Matt, you're dead on. There's no wrestler that IYO's ever been in the ring with that is good as Utami is now. And 5 or 6 minutes in, Utami looked like she was out of her league. I was like, holy geez, like IYO was just blowing this out of the water. And I don't know if it was just selling or Utami was just like, I need to bring this up to another level because you see the bruises on her face. And I'm like, IYO's just blowing this out of the wire. Then Utami comes back. And then we get the Utami that we love. And she just took it up to another notch. And she's blasting it with forearms. There's just one clothesline she hit that IYO took over the top rope where IYO bumped on the apron and then bumped on the floor. And I know me and you were thinking we're going to get a German on the floor or the air raid crash on the apron. We didn't get that, but we got that bump. We got an insane hijack bomb that I thought IYO was going to go through the mat. And then we got a German suplex off the top rope that Utami was able to hold on to on the bridge, which was absolutely insane. We got IYO doing a poison rana off the top, a springboard poison rana off the top rope. We got to see that insane dive that we get to see from time to time on Raw, but we get to see that insane dive where it looks like she just glides through the air and doesn't even come close to touching the second and third rope. We got to see
I've never seen any. Sorry, I'm gonna have.
Good.
I've never seen anyone go through those two ropes as cleanly as she does. It's mental. Like it's like she suddenly shrinks in size and just goes through it like a bloody tracer bullet. It's ridiculous. And you're right. We've seen it on Raw, we've seen it on WWE pay-per-views, and we've seen, we saw it at Money in the Bank, the kind of ridiculous things she's willing to put a body through. But it does feel like she upped. Not that she upped, she was just Io. And because she had a dance partner as good as Utami is, she was able to wrestle the style that we know she's able to wrestle. And you're absolutely right. There was actually another bump as well where she did a complete 360 off an Utami lariat, which was just insane. Just proper all the way around, landed flat on her stomach. I was like, we don't deserve her. We really do not deserve IYO SKY.
Rob, I'm actually a question. That bump she took, what is the big thing that does? It's psychology of the match.
It puts over Utami.
After Utami's taken
the strength of Utami, yeah.
All of this stuff, it puts over Utami's comeback. You're absolutely right that she goes. We know Utami has great clotheslines. We've never seen anybody take it. We've seen Mayu take clotheslines like that, but yeah, she does almost like a shooting star press off it, and she bumps right in the middle to build more towards Utami's comeback. So it's like the unselfishness of both these ladies, really. But IYO in this should just be like, oh my goodness. And again, this is what IYO does. This is what IYO does. We're literally, I know a couple years ago on this podcast, I said I think IYO SKY is the greatest female wrestler of all time. And you were kind of like, Matt, do a little more research. And I went to watch all the Hokuto stuff and the Nakano stuff. I think you might have texted me. Regardless, he wasn't mean to me, guys. Me and Rob get along really well.
I think you need to do a little bit more research, Matt.
You need to do a little more research, kid. Come on now. But and I didn't. I was just like, not only do I stand by that, I think Mayu's the second best ever. And over the past maybe 10 or 12 months, I'm like, I think Mayu's gone past IYO, at least in the ring, because Mayu's wrestling the Momos and the Sarees, and she's wrestling the Shiris. Where again, IYO, I think the WWE women's division is great. I think it's the second best women's division in all of wrestling behind Stardom. I love Marigold. They're not there yet. Can they be? Sure, absolutely. And again, I'm not familiar. Yeah, I'm not that familiar with the roster outside of the Stardom girls, except for the last few months. But that women's division, again, Charlotte Flair, Becky, Rhea. I mean, that women's division is crazy loaded now that they're getting Giulia and Steph Facker. That's terrific. But it's like, yeah, she's had to almost slow down her style. And it's just like, can she get that style back? She's never lost it. And you literally, it's just absolutely insane how she is levels above everybody. I made mention last week that her and Gunther are the two, in my opinion, the two best wrestlers under a WWE contract. No disrespect, I love Gunther. I love that. You can literally take his style and put in All Japan in the 90s and it'll work great. Imagine him in Kobashi, 95, 96. IYO's way better. IYO is way better. She is on another level, and she proved it here. And you know damn well, either today, tomorrow, because I'm a main eventer and prominent star on that show, that the big bosses in WWE, Triple H, Nick Khan, yada, 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 they're going to be watching this match just to see how it went. And they're going to be like, because I don't know if they've seen her Stardom stuff. They're going to be like, wait a minute. This is what we have. This is what we have. We knew she was great. We knew she was top of the roster. This is what we have, and she made it look so seamlessly with this wrestler that we've only heard of that's not under our roster. And you know damn well a lot of the locker room has watched that match already, or is going to because of the buzz it's getting. And you know damn well that Zoe Starks is going to want to take a top rope reverse Rana. You know damn well. IYO, I don't know if IYO has done the tombstone since she's been in WWE. And I understand they try to take away from head bumps, and that's the Undertaker's move. And I know the Undertaker's retired X amount of years, but we've seen all of IYO's Stardom matches. She would always use the tombstone to set up for the moonsault. And she did it here, which I thought was great. Not only did she do the tombstone, she did like the Dynamite Kid jumping style. She
proper went for it.
She got to do the 619, which we know she can't do because of Rey Mysterio. And I completely understand that, and I get that. I had no problem with that. But just like she was able to go back and be Stardom IYO SKY, which makes you think, Rob, and this may be a future what-if episode, had IYO come back in 2022 like she was rumored to be until Triple H kind of got power and was like, no, we need her, keep her here. And then she got this monster push. What would IYO in 2 years ago been like if she re-signed with Stardom and we got IYO and Mayu, IYO and Momo, IYO and Shuri, so on and so forth? Like, oh my God, we may be saying, and we still can, greatest in-ring performer in the same breath of Steamboat, Flair, Michaels, Masawa, Danielson. Like, holy gee, she is on another level and has passed everybody. But the fact that she does not have the dance partners, again, no disrespect to the ladies in WWE that are over in Japan, the Mayus, the Momos, the Utamis. Brother, you were there with me all weekend. Clearly the MVP, the best worker on those 2 nights at WrestleMania in front of a combined 130, 140,000 people was IYO SKY. Was IYO. She made Bayley look like $1 zillion. Made her look like $1 zillion. And IYO is so good that you literally could have parachuted IYO into that show, All-Star Grand Queendom, last year. And me and you and a lot of our listeners consider that one of the greatest wrestling shows ever. Not just Stardom shows, not just Japan shows, ever. And you could have put her, if you remember, Momo Watanabe was on an underneath tag match. You could have said, we're bringing IYO in for one night. She's going to wrestle her old rival, Momo Watanabe, and gave her 16 minutes. And if this is the IYO we were going to get in that show, which I'm assuming would have been, she would have been the best performer on that show by a mile. Show that had Chihiro Hashimoto, Mayu Iwatani, Mina, Saya Kamitani, Shuri, Mercedes Moné. She would have blown everybody out the doors. I was shocked, but not shocked how great she was. And again, Utami, phenomenal. Top rope German suplex. Oh my God. Like the way that she was able to sell IYO's offense that we see on Raw, but did it a different way because Utami's on another level. This was great. I'm literally getting goosebumps talking about this match again. I was so excited when the match started. We were hinted about a month or so ago that they were going to come out with the Queen's Quest mask. I kind of forgot about it until Utami came out, and I'm like, that puts so much more prestige on this match just with the mask coming out.
Absolutely.
I was kind of hoping a little bit that IYO would have came out to her Stardom theme, but obviously I get it. She's WWE, and they had to put her over as WWE superstar, and I get that. But man, kudos to everybody to making this happen. Really, between Rossi, between Triple H, Nick, whoever oh my God, we're going to talk about this match like forever. We really, really are. It's a really dream match that delivered. Not only to deliver, it goes to show that literally IYO SKY is one of the greatest in-ring talents when she's allowed to be. She's probably at a 9 in WWE, which this match she was at an 11. Her Stardom run, she was at a 12. Like just unbelievable. One of the best in-ring performers ever. Unbelievable. This was, in my opinion, this was her best match. And again, she had a great catalog from 2018 till today. This was her best match since she dropped the belt to Momo in 2018 because she had a dance partner that was able to keep up with her. And the fact that we didn't know that IYO was slowing down to be unselfish, slowing down so the Sasha Bankses of this world, so the Asukas of this world, for the Charlotte Flairs of this world, of the Baileys of this world, big multi-millionaire stars can keep up with her.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what more I can say. Unfreaking believable.
There is a reason that she is the most successful Japanese import, with the exception of Asuka, I think. But even so, at the moment, in terms of, you look at Kairi, great wrestler, hasn't quite made it in the WWE to the same extent. Shinsuke Nakamura, for God's sake, huge global star coming over from Japan, got to the main roster, wasn't used in the correct way, couldn't quite adapt his style in the same way. And yes, I know that the change in leadership in WWE has a lot to do with that, and IYO's sort of capitalized on that. However, IYO, you hit the nail on the head, my friend. Her ability to adapt is why she's so damn good. And there's so many comments. I can't go through all of them, but I'll try and go through a couple. Was it that one? Honestly, my favorite thing was when IYO was walking to the back just before she got to the curtain. She started selling hard, dropping the facade of strength. I agree. This one as well, to put Utami over just a little bit more before she goes, really embodying Matt's emphasis on curtain to curtain performances. It was a great curtain to curtain performance from IYO. And the fact that she spent almost the entirety of her post match putting over Utami was incredible. Zero says it's almost comically unfair how easy it comes to IYO. She just flipped a switch like she never left Japan for 6 years. Completely agree, Zero. That's why I said it's almost annoying. It's impressive how quick and fluid IYO is. Chris says, yeah, it really is. Like, she makes the most difficult things look so obscenely seamless that it really is crazy. Again, Matt's absolutely right. We could spend hours and hours and hours talking about this match, and I'm imagining that we will probably talk about this match on more than one podcast. But believe it or not, this wasn't actually the main event, even though for many people I think it probably was. But in the rather unenviable position of following this match was the World of Stardom. No, it wasn't. Oh my God, I apologize for that. If anyone's listening from Marigold,
1,000 times.
the Marigold World title, the Crimson Red Belt match. Sareee defeats Giulia 25 minutes, 48 seconds via referee stoppage. Now, I said it was in a very, very unenviable position in having to follow IYO SKY versus Utami Hayashishita. And I stand by that. It's in a very unenviable position. However, it turns out that both Sareee and Giulia thrive on that sort of pressure, because what Utami and IYO brought in beauty and in technical magnificence, these two brought brutality, stiffness, and a complete disregard for their own safety and others' safety, because these two women blitzed each other. Absolutely blitzed each other, dropping each other on their heads, smashing each other in the face, legitimately scary looking chair shots, incredible top rope moves. We had a table spot. These two women left everything in the ring. And you know what? They even told a story. Throughout the entire match, it was all about, well, Giulia's wrist is stronger than ever. If she gets that forearm off, Saree's not going to be able to get up. And you know what? Not only was it not a strength, it was the weakness that led to the end of the match. And it was how they used it, and the referee throwing it out, Giulia desperate. No, I'm fine, and having to be protected from herself as Sareee, this ungodly like badass, is destroying her. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. I've seen people saying, I can't believe Giulia lost that match. Why have you put it on a part-timer? Giulia is not going to be a full-time roster member in Marigold for that long. Okay? Me and Matt spoke about on the preview show how great it would be if she could go into NXT wearing that belt. We're assuming that she will be allowed to do that. We're assuming that something could be done where she will be allowed to do that. I imagine she probably would. We've seen Jordan Grace turn up with the TNA Knockouts Championship, etc. However, I love the story that they're telling here with Sareee. You know what, Giulia? You weren't here. In your absence, I became the ace. And you know what? Everyone in the roster didn't agree. Everyone on the roster was like, do you know what? No, you've just come in. You think you're the ace. Well, now I have this belt. And you were supposed to beat me, and you couldn't beat me. I really love that. Just really gritty storyline. We knew that these two would deliver in terms of just beating the ever-loving Jimmy out of each other. And I love it. Really, really enjoyed the match. 4.5 stars. Brilliant stuff from both women. And we have our new Marigold World Champion.
Well, I love this match. I had it at 4 3/4 stars. I like the IYO match just a little bit better.
Yeah,
but I do want to talk about this because this is very polarizing. What I've seen people online talk about, and I think a lot of people have kind of I have a decent gripe, and obviously we're using this platform to talk about it. What did you think of the finish? Because it's your main event coming off the IYO Utami match. It's your crowning your first champion. You have this person going away. What did you think of the finish? I want to get your thoughts before I kind of say my thoughts.
So I remember Stardom doing something similar with Mayu Iwatani and Syuri. When Syuri targeted Mayu's knee relentlessly, and then Daichi threw it out. And I didn't have an issue with that finish. To the point where I actually thoroughly enjoyed that match far more than apparently a lot of other people did. My one issue with the way that they structured the finish was that Mayu wasn't struggling for long enough. Here, I don't think Giulia was in the hold for long enough. I think if she'd have been locked in the hold, had tried, multiple ways to try and get out of the hold, had done everything she possibly could to get out of the hold, but also, wasn't tapping out because she's too stubborn for her own good. That way, I think the finish works. And I think you are protecting Giulia. You know, you don't want her to lose clean. I get that. You want to keep her strong, but you are protecting her. I don't think she was in the hold for long enough, and I think the finish sort of came out of nowhere. Matt, what about you?
Going back to that Mayu versus Shuri match, which me and you love. I think me and you both gave it 5 stars. We did an alternate commentary on it before. It was World Climax Night 2. Phenomenal match. I think me and you even have it as Shuri's best successful title defense in that reign. Successful because of the Giulia match. The match she wins and loses the belt are probably her best too. But considering the fact that Mayu is a better seller than Giulia, and no disrespect to Giulia, Mayu is an all-timer, and Shuri's a more legit badass with submissions than she is Sareee. Again, no disrespect to Sareee, but it's Shuri, right? So I bought more into that finish. With this one, you always want to end the match on your biggest move. And this match built and built and built, and then it got here, and it just kept going. Between the violence and the chair shots and that insane pile driver that Giulia always breaks out on the big matches, and that fact that tease that went back to it, I thought was a brilliant job by Giulia trying to get it and then not able to get it because she doesn't have Sareee wore down enough. And then they're hitting bomb after bomb after bomb. And Sareee goes to the arm a couple times in the match. She goes to the arm to get to the wrist, and then she winds up taking the wrist guard off, which I thought was really cool. And then she starts using it against Giulia. They start teasing the exploder and the glorious driver. Eventually, we go back, we hit it. Eventually, Sareee is able to hit the wrist clutch exploder, her finisher. And I thought, okay, you have the crowd here. That's your finish, right? That's where you should end it. Giulia kicks out, and I'm like, okay, where are we going to now? Because these two are so perfect. The psychology, the crowd psychology, the way that they're meshing, like they're constantly building. Where are you building from here? And I thought maybe Sareee would pick her up and hit her with another one, right? And then Giulia is able to counter, and then she teases the Hammerlock Northern Lights bomb, the glorious Northern Lights bomb that she's only hit once against that match against Shuri. She's only hit it once. I'm like, oh man, maybe that's where it's going because that's a disgusting move. And then Sareee is able to get out of it. She goes back to the armbar. And then the crowd kind of comes down a little. I was like, oh, we kind of had him a fever pitch. We're back in a submission. And then she, not only does she have the armbar, I thought this was great. And then she manipulates the fingers, which is illegal in MMA, right? It's illegal in MMA, which I thought is great. She manipulates the fingers, and the ref immediately calls for the bell. And then all of a sudden, the crowd was just like, wait, what? They were confused. And I got to go back and watch. I think even the commentators came off as a little bit confused. And then instead of the big pop, the ref got some of the heat because 1, you weren't waiting on it long enough. 2, we don't see Sareee winning a lot of matches with submissions, at least the matches that we've seen in Marigold and some of these big matches she's had since she's come back. It's usually that wrist clutch, that hammerlock exploder. So it's like nobody saw it coming. And for your last match on your big show to crown your new champion, I thought it was like you had them here and you even had them here. You finished here, which is still really good. But you had them a minute earlier with that hammerlock exploder. That's where you should have finished the match. The fact now, had Giulia tapped out, she's struggling. She's seeing it. You're seeing it. Oh, is she going to tap? Is she going to tap? Is she going to tap? I'm using the video to my advantage.
I was just going to say, it's going to be great for podcasts.
You're waiting for it. You're waiting for it. And then she taps. Or had she passed out in pain, that would have been something. We saw Konami choking out Hazuki to win the goddess belts. That's fine because it's a choke out. The ref's got to call for the bell. But the fact that it was like a finger joint manipulation and the ref calls for the bell, well, it's like, well, Giulia just had surgery on that. But yeah, wasn't she cleared? And only Giulia knows how much pain she's in. And then Giulia is complaining to the ref, like, why'd you stop the match immediately? Which then the crowd, instead of cheering for Sareee or cheering for this great match, was like, yeah, ref, why did you stop the match? So you took part of your pop, not a lot of it, but maybe 15, 20% of that huge pop you should have gotten, and you put heat on the referee. I understand why they did it. I don't agree with it. You had a better finish about a minute earlier ago. So, again, great match, 4 3/4 stars, one of the best matches I've seen all year, which is saying a lot considering the fact of how much great wrestling it was. This match was terrific. It was brilliant. But for how brilliant this match was, like this match was A+++, you kind of gave us an A- finisher. Again, you had us here. You gave us a here finisher, and instead of all the pop going to Sareee, you put a little bit of heat on the referee. That's just kind of my theory. Again, these two wrestlers are brilliant. Who am I to tell Rossi how to book and tell Sareee and Giulia how to wrestle? I'm nobody compared to them. But again, I thought you should have finished it here. You kind of finished it here. Again, 4 3/4 stars match. This match was great. Again, considering the fact that Giulia is kind of on her way out and she's going to be coming back periodically, I think it should have been a clean 1, 2, 3. But again, who am I to tell these phenomenal wrestlers how to wrestle their style, brother?
I completely get your point, and I can certainly see where you're coming from. And I think, again, I think if you're going to do a referee stoppage, there needs to be no other alternative. And I feel like there was an alternative. It was, stay in the hole for a bit longer, try and get to the ropes, have Sareee then sort of bring Giulia away from the ropes and lock in that hold again and really, really work on it. I know that, you could sort of play on the story of Giulia has only just come back. This is her first match back since May with this broken wrist. So you can tell that story of maybe she thought she was ready, maybe she was cleared but told to take it easy, that sort of thing. But that wasn't inherently said during the match, was it? So you can't really take that at face value. I like what they were going for. It makes sense. Yes, you had the most impactful moves happen. They kicked out of everything. You could argue that Giulia used up that energy kicking out of the wrist clutch Uranagi twice. And you can argue that Sareee adapted her offense to target Giulia's weakest point. However, I do agree that it wasn't quite executed the best way. I think, because it's something that I've been meaning to say. We don't see a lot of people trapped in submissions for long, long times anymore, do we? We tend to get people getting to the ropes relatively quickly or tapping out relatively quickly. And I think here was the perfect opportunity to have the move held in for a minute, 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes, and really build on that sort of resilience of Giulia and the fact that Giulia is going to literally pass out from pain before she taps out. And that's where the referee can then step in and say, look, it's my job to keep you safe. You're not being safe. Okay. But I don't think enough time had passed with Giulia in the hold for that to happen. And I think Sareee had just transitioned into part of the move. Anyway, I agree with you. I like what they were trying with the finish. I don't think it was quite executed correctly. In my opinion, the finish idea was an A star.
Sure.
The execution, as you said, was an A minus. I just don't think it was executed properly. I've got it in my head that I wanted Giulia trapped in that hold with nowhere else to go and literally just surviving and really gutting it out. And Thomas Bowers just said the Bret Hart Stone Cold pass out finish would have been great for this match.
Yeah. It's almost as if somebody hits a big finish because you're waiting, like you're in the hold. You need to milk the crowd, right? And again, it happened immediately. It's almost somebody hits a big finish and they go. The ref counts 1, 2, ring the bell. What happened to 3? Aren't you supposed to go to 3? Like, because we're waiting for that 3 count. Like Austin hits the stunner on Shawn Michaels in WrestleMania 14, and we're waiting for that 3 count. Can you imagine if Mike Tyson went 1, 2 and rang for the bell? We were waiting for that 3 count to do the big pop. Now we got to do the pop a little bit earlier because now we're confused. And I think that's what happened. Again, great match. I like the finish, but I thought they had a better finish about a minute and a half earlier when she hit the wrist clutch Uranagi.
Overall, then, I mean, it's a fantastic show.
Unbelievable.
It's signed off by Giulia, not Sareee, which I thought was quite funny. She did actually say, I know the champion's supposed to start it off, but to finish the show, but I'm going to do it. Okay. It looks very much like Giulia is on her way out. It does very much look like she's on her way to NXT imminently, which might have had something to do with the finish as well. Overall, I think putting it on Sareee, who is arguably one of the hottest wrestlers of this entire calendar year, is not a bad idea. I mean, you look at the matches that she's had, matches of the year candidates with IYO Utami, against Natsupoi and Soriano, with Chihiro Hashimoto, with Giulia here, with all of the runs in. She's had great matches in Seedling and Sendai Girls, on her own Sareeism shows. She is a phenomenal wrestler that has had repeatedly fantastic runs and repeatedly fantastic matches. I think putting the belt on her is a good idea. She can be that dominant champion that's eventually usurped by an Utami or by a Mirai. I think if Giulia wasn't going, because the way she said goodbye to fans afterwards made it sound like she was going soon. It did sound very much like it's a case of I'm going in the next couple of weeks, as opposed to I'll be sticking around until December, or I'll be sticking around till, September. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I'd love to see more of Giulia in Marigold.
She's great.
But that was the impression I got, and I feel like the finish sort of solidified that. But overall, I think this show does phenomenal in sort of adding to the prestige of Marigold. You've got 3 champions now, 2 I think relatively unexpected. In Miko Ano and Sareee. I think a lot of people expected Giulia to be the first champion. I think a lot of people expected either Bozilla or Mirai to be the first champions. So you've got unexpected champions, but not to the point where people are annoyed by it. People are like, oh, okay. Yeah, I'm into this. I mean, we've just spent like 20 minutes talking about how good it is to put the belt on Miko Ano. You have got your top championship on the hottest wrestler in Japan, in Sareee. So I think this is going to be a very, very good time for Marigold. Now that you have got championships, champions crowned, you can start building the rest of your roster towards these championships, and you can start getting to know these wrestlers. The introduction of this tournament, the Dreamstar Grand Prix, you can start to get that over. They're starting to feel like a cohesive unit. Things are falling into place. You're starting to develop your heel team of Nikita Nozaki and Chiaki. Presumably, you are going to start a heel unit. I don't know if we're going to go into units in the same way that Stardom or New Japan has. I don't think it matters if you do or you don't, to be perfectly honest. But as long as you've got heels to accent your baby faces, I think it works. There wasn't a tremendous amount that Marigold did wrong on this show. There's only the one match, which was the opener, which fell a bit flat, which again, you can point to the 2 wrestlers' experience levels for that, a little bit of communication error. It's not the end of the world whatsoever. We have got a lot of teams that are developing ahead of the Twin Star Championship tournament, presuming that's going to happen. It's a very exciting time for Marigold. We said that if they got above 3,000 people in Ryogoku, they'd be happy. I'd argue that 3,058 people is a very, very, very healthy number. Now, what I want to see is at their next pay-per-view, whether that is Ota Ward City Gym in January or whether that is in Nagoya for the end of the Dreamstar Grand Prix, I want to see what numbers they draw to that. Because for those numbers, they haven't got IYO SKY. The chances are they won't have Giulia. How many people have they retained with this pay-per-view? Because on balance of in-ring match quality, I would argue that they're going to retain quite a few people because it was a great show.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, and it's going to be exciting. We are huge fans of Giulia over here at not only the Starmcast, but the Marigold Standard. And I did have handful of people did ask when she goes to NXT, are we going to be doing the Giulia watch on the Marigold Standard? And I can't see why not. It's probably a good possibility. We'll just probably maybe tag that on. But yeah, you're exactly right, my friend. The next big show they do is going to be interesting to see one number if they hit the high 900s or the high thousands without Giulia, without IYO, without a big name coming over, from overseas or another company. It's been interesting that they can draw that on the core talent that they have, and I really think that they can do, and or they will do, because of just how great this show was and how much retention they're going to get.
Just Collins just pointed out before we go, Sendai Girls have their big Korakuen Hall show on the 15th. One of the matches being Jordan Grace versus Chihiro Hashimoto live on Wrestle Universe, by the way. That's also the show that has got Saori Anou versus Miko Iwata for the Sendai Girls Championship and the Wonder of Stardom Championship as well. So definitely a show we are going to be checking out as fans of Stardom and as fans of wrestling, because I imagine Chihiro Hashimoto versus Jordan Grace is going to bang hard. Just quickly then, before we do depart, there are a couple of shows coming up. A week today, Marigold are back in Shinkiba First Ring, the 20th of July. It is in Tokyo, so we are to assume that that is going to be live. The day after, on the Sunday, the 21st of July, the Marigold Summer Gold Shine Tour goes to Nagoya Congress Center in Aichi. And then the 30th of July, Tuesday, the 30th of July, Marigold Summer Gold Shine, Korakuen Gakuen Hall. That'll be the next Korakuen. Like I say, I anticipate maybe one title match, maybe even two title matches taking place there. But Matt, obviously, you'll be doing the show. Oh, no, you won't be doing the show on your own Marigold Standard, will you? Because I'll be back next week and we'll be able to do the Chinkiba show.
Yeah, I'll be doing two shows solo, the Stardom Cast and then the show from the 7th that just went up on Wrestle Universe a day or two ago. I might pump that out in a day or two. Sean actually just called me and I got to let him know I got a lot of work for you because I already had one thing in the pipeline for him that, again, the roundtable with Scott, and then I'm recording with Andy, I think Monday or Tuesday. So we're keeping Mr. Guns himself, Sean Montrose.
Mr. Guns.
Mr. Gunn, Billy Gunn himself, Sean Montrose, busy this week. But hey, brother, I know you're going on vacation, or as you call it, England holiday. Where you headed off to, brother? Just a little curious.
We are going to the south of Wales. It's about a 5-hour drive. We always go to the north of Wales because that's where we went to university. But yeah, we're going to the south this time. Just nice little cabin. Hopefully, with a bit of nice weather, there's a beach and stuff like that. Just going to chill out there for a bit. Knowing our luck, it will hammer it down for the entire week. Jesus Christ, what is that?
It's a motorcycle. Yeah, dude, it's 1,000 degrees out. You get them all the time. It's again, you've seen where I live. It's literally middle of nowhere, Pennsylvania. There's a lot of fields, folks. So we get motorcycles, we get regular cars, we get SUVs, we get farm equipment. We literally see it all over here. Yeah, where my wife is very, grew up in the country, and that's kind of where I moved to. So, yeah.
Fair enough. But yes, that's where we're going. I'm very much looking forward to it. Moving away from tractors and motorcycles and things, fingers crossed. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to everyone that has watched this live. Thank you to everyone that is listening to this in podcast form. Hopefully the podcast will either drop tomorrow morning or tomorrow evening. It will be tomorrow, though. Don't forget, you can check us out on the socials at Marigold Podcast. You can find us on YouTube, as you already have, because you're watching us live on the Stardom Cast as well. Don't forget to check out the website, www.thestardomcast.com, for all of the Marigold and Stardom statistics as well. You can also check out every single Marigold standard there as well if you want to go back through the archives. Again, thank you so much for all your questions. Thank you for interacting with us. Thank you for sticking around as well. We massively do appreciate every single one of you. Don't forget to check out our Patreon as well, patreon.com/the Stardom Cast. So much content dropping over there. Of course, as Matt's already said, Matt will be doing the show solo next week. I'm in Wales. However, I will be back the week after, and we'll be doing both the Marigold Standard and the Stardom Cast as well. But in the meantime, thank you so much. If you want to talk to me on Twitter, you can at Real Rob Goodwin on Twitter. Matt Turner, sign us off, good sir.
Folks, questions, comments, suggestions, anything you need from me, Matt Turner OF, there it is, on the Instagram and or the Twitter is the best and fastest way to get a hold of me. If you want to shoot me an email, that's perfectly fine as well. The best way to get a hold of me via the email system is the StardomCast22@gmail.com. Folks, that's going to wrap it up for another fantastic live podcast from the Marigold Standard. We hope you all enjoyed it. This was an absolute blast. Thanks for interacting with us. We appreciate your support. Oh, God. What did he say? Oh, I thought he said he got snubbed. Anyway.
Just subbed, not snuffed. Jesus.
I thought he said, no, we snubbed him. I thought maybe he made a comment and we didn't put him over. But thanks, my man. Thank you. It is. I went to a really bad high school. Reading is I'm not really good with it. It's a good thing I'm a nice guy. Anywho, wrap this baby up, folks. We greatly appreciate your support. Can't do without you. Because like I always say, it's just not my podcast. It's our podcast. Because we're all together, and everyone's different, everyone's special.